On a sunny morning at school, a regular-looking boy named Saito strolls through the hallway. Suddenly, he spots a stunning girl named Akane. She grabs Saito by his tie and threatens to erase him from existence if he spills a secret. 4 days ago in class 3A, Akane could be seen scolding for messing up the class journal. However, Saito, sitting like a chill guy, says he has nothing to pass a comment as he didn't have much to do the day before. Akane goes on to scold him for not erasing the class's blackboard and something about evil spirits. The two start arguing as Saito calls her a drag and suggests reading more books in her free time. However, Akane reveals that she is just trying to fix his rotten character. Talking about characters, suddenly two big characters of a hot blonde Himari appear and bury Akane between her massive talons as she teases them to stop or Saito might cry, but Akane complains that it's Saito's fault as he's a negligent class duty carrier. Himari asks why she only scolds Saito, to which her expressions change and goes on to say that he simply irks her whenever she sees his face and that she wants to smash him, unfortunately, but with a slipper. Suddenly, a really adorable girl with gray hair named Shisei appears. She seems to be quite popular among her friends, and to Saito's surprise, she is actually his cousin. Meanwhile, Himari playfully teases Akane, suggesting that if she keeps bothering Saito, it must mean she has a crush on him. Hearing this makes Akane blush deeply, and she quickly denies the idea, feeling embarrassed. After school, as Saito is heading home, he gets a phone call from his grandfather. His grandfather asks if Saito would like to join him for a cup of tea. Saito declines the invitation, joking that he's not interested in hanging out with old men. He knows that the only way to get his grandson to listen to him is to take more drastic measures like kidnapping Saito to ensure he spends time with him. While being driven, Saito asks the men in suits where they are taking him, but they just say they can't share that information. He then starts talking about how the Houjou group of companies faced a serious crisis in the past. Saito explains that his grandfather, Tenryu, was the one who saved the company from disaster. Despite facing a lot of public criticism, his grandfather made tough decisions like firing unqualified executives and turned the Houjou group into a successful global high-tech business. Later on, Saito can be seen sitting outside a house reading a book when that bratty girl suddenly arrives. Akane asks Saito what he is doing there, to which he reveals that his grandfather called him. Akane also reveals that her grandmother called her to spend some time. Saito tells her to stop talking as he is reading. This embarrasses Akane as she says that she does not want to talk to him. Akane asks him to apologize or she will keep yapping BS forever. As they are arguing, their grandparents arrive and Saito's grandfather tells them to come with him. After that, the four of them enjoy some delicious Japanese food together. Akane and Saito seem to be acting a bit strange as they mention they are celebrating a very eventful day. Akane asks the waiter for another glass of juice and Saito playfully reminds her that she is just drinking juice. She complains that she was really hungry but lost her appetite after seeing a funny-looking face. As usual, Saito and Akane start bickering, which makes their grandparents laugh. They say they are happy to see that the two of them are getting along, but Saito and Akane quickly deny it, feeling a bit embarrassed. Curious about why they were called together, Saito asks the grandparents what is going on. They respond with something about marriage, which completely shocks both Saito and Akane. In surprise, they drop their food, unable to believe what they just heard. The grandparents repeat that they want Saito and Akane to get married. This unexpected news leaves both of them in disbelief, and they can hardly process what their grandparents are suggesting. The grandfather then goes on to yap how he and Chiyo have known each other for a really long time and had mutual feelings when they were young, but because of not meeting much, they were not able to end up together. The old man reveals that he made her late wife happy, and the granny reveals after the passing of her husband, Saito's grandfather took care of her every night. The grandparents then explain that after living their lives, they want their grandchildren to fulfill their destiny by getting married. Akane quickly refuses, saying that marriage should only happen between people who truly love each other. Saito agrees and reminds them that it's not right to force someone to marry against their will. However, the clever grandfather has a surprise plan just like a superhero. He brings out a dog and says that if Saito doesn't marry Akane, he will give all his money and inheritance to the dog instead. This catches both of them off guard. Meanwhile, Akane's grandmother, Chiyo, leans in and whispers something to her, making her blush. Later that night, the grandfather gives them a deadline of 3 days to get married and then leaves the room. Saito turns to Akane and asks what her grandmother said to her. She blushes again and tells him not to try to guess her thoughts, insisting that she will make her own choices about her future. Afterward, Akane can be seen lying down with her thick thighs deep in thought as she remembers how Saito takes the first spot in school every time. Akane then picks up Himari's calls and asks what would she do if she is forced to marry someone she does not like by her family, to which she replies that she would turn down the offer as she already has a crush on someone. Listening to this, Akane is shocked and wants to know, but Himari does not tell their secret, indicating that MC might get a harem. Himari then asks if Akane is interested in someone, but she replies that she hates someone extremely and wants a meteor to fall on him. Himari then tells her that it's okay if she marries the person, as everything would be much cheaper since they can split the financial burden, and goes on to tease her over having babies. Meanwhile, Saito is still shocked that he has to marry Akane of all people. He worries about the constant bickering they would have at home. To get some advice, Saito talks to his friend Shisei about the unreasonable demand from their grandfather. Shisei then asks Saito what he really wants, to inherit the company or to be happy. Saito, feeling confused, replies that he wants both. Shisei gives him a thoughtful answer, saying that it would be selfish to want everything without making a choice. She explains that a person should learn how to follow rules and use them to their advantage instead of just breaking them. Shisei also tells Saito that if he wants to achieve his dreams, he needs the support of his grandfather's company. She reassures him that she will always be there for him, and then she gives him a warm hug, like a comforting Alabama-style embrace. The following day at school, Saito enters his class with Shisei's cuteness being admired by everyone in the class and Akane yapping with Himari. 3 days later, the losers sit in front of their Sigma grandparents. The grandparents ask about their decision, and surprisingly, both of them agree to get married. They get up to leave, thinking of getting married after university, but the old geezers are 2 steps ahead of them, revealing they are getting married now and will be living together in the same house, as their things have already moved in and leave as Akane calls them and not abandon her. After going home, Saito locks the door, which scares Akane as she jumps into another room. Just a moment later, Akane looks around the beautiful house and again starts arguing. Later on, as they stumble upon the only bed in the house, they call their grandparents, who tell them it's forbidden to sleep anywhere else than bed. The pillow of the bed has only yes written on it. Out of nowhere, Akane asks if he will do her until he is satisfied and she won't be able to go to school. Later, as she is moving her stuff upstairs, she suddenly trips and is about to fall, but Saito saves her. At first, she's about to thank him, but like any other brat, she just goes away. As Saito is about to eat, Akane's stomach growls, but she rejects the idea of eating with him as a couple and goes on to say some really unnecessary ecchi stuff. However, Saito just gives her a slice of pizza, which Akane takes away like a stray cat. Later at night, Saito sits down to sleep. That's when Akane arrives blushing and lays down beside him. Saito is blushing as well as he can smell her sweet scent. Akane tells Saito to not do anything lecherous with her since she never had a boyfriend. Saito then asks her why she marries him, but she is not telling him. Saito tries to persuade her, but she does not spill the tea. Akane then clears up, as this marriage is just a formality that she has to fulfill in order to achieve her dream. Saito wonders if they add a condition of having a child. This revelation made both of them shocked, and somehow Saito's finger touched Akane's soft peach, unfolding another drama. Back to the present, with Akane holding his tie and threatening to delete him if he tells someone, as it will destroy her social life. Saito tries to assure her that he won't tell anyone about their marriage, but Akane doesn't believe and asks to put a bomb that will explode within a radius of 1 kilometer if he talks about their marriage. After their marriage to each other, Saito and Akane decide to keep it a secret from everyone else in class. Finally coming to terms, they decide to open the door and face the day. Himari is the first to greet them, asking Akane what she and Saito were talking about before entering, but only assumes the two are in their usual competitive arguments, when Akane decides to act as if she just came from scolding Saito. Saito does his best to ignore them as he takes his seat, but gets shocked when Shizi approaches him. Shizi looks at him suspiciously, commenting that he smells like he's been with another girl. She makes a guess that he decided to go through with the marriage with Akane because of all the changes and the fact that their grandfather and the rest of the company were acting strangely the night before. Saito panics that Shizi managed to hit the mark and quickly covers her mouth, carrying her out of the classroom in fear that she will spill their secret to the school. Outside the classroom, Shizi tells him that she has no obligation to keep the marriage between him and Akane a secret, feeling betrayed that Saito didn't bother to tell her anything about his decision despite reassuring him he would support him the night before. Shizi decides that she can use their situation to her advantage by putting up a bribe. However, she realizes she doesn't have anything she really wants from him at the moment, much to Saito's relief. After their physical education class, Saito wants to take some time resting at his desk when he is rudely approached by Akane, who scolds him for leaving the equipment they used out in the gym. Saito argues back that a teacher told him to leave it out since the next class will be using the same equipment, embarrassing Akane, who picked up and stored the equipment for his sake. Their classmates watch in amusement as they continue to bicker, catching their curiosity. Himari decides to tell them that they are popular with the students due to their arguments, since it seems like they bicker like a married couple, causing Akane to loudly deny that they are married. Back at home, Saito is lounging, peacefully reading a book when he hears Akane's shocked voice. He goes to check on her, and she asks him what he bought while gesturing to their fridge filled with vegetable juice. Saito confidently explains that he bought them to get healthy, which causes Akane to worry since juice concentrate does not pack enough nutrition for their daily needs. He also shows her their cupboard filled with cup ramen he bought, which makes Akane horrified over their diets. Saito confidently reassures her that they can get enough protein and the right nutrition thanks to protein drinks and mixing it with vegetable juice, and he offers a glass of it to Akane, who stares at the concoction in fear and disbelief. Feeling that both of them might die due to his eating habits, Akane decides that she'll cook for them and be in charge of meal preparations. She sits him down and decides to start cooking right away, excited for the praise and admiration she'll receive from him once he tastes a proper home-cooked meal. On the other hand, Saito watches her in mild worry that she might be putting poison in his meal to finish him off and gain her freedom from their marriage. Akane presents an amazing assortment of food for dinner, but Saito still remains wary of it and begins to look under some of the dishes to see if she hid nails or explosive powder in them. Unable to see anything wrong with the food, he nervously takes a tentative bite. The sudden taste of a home-cooked meal makes him remember the time his parents left him and how he was taken in by his grandfather, only to experience meals by himself. While it's a normal meal, Saito greatly enjoys it but hides this knowledge from Akane, who is eagerly awaiting his comments. Not getting any praise for the meal she carefully prepared, Akane feels heartbroken and takes the food away from Saito, threatening to give it to the dog outside. However, Saito tries his best to get the food back and hurriedly eats the rest of it, not leaving a single piece of food. He finished fully satisfied with his meal and having a full stomach for the first time since he could remember. Akane, on the other hand, is frustrated that he ate everything without giving her any praise for it. The next day, Akane tries to gently wake Saito up to get ready for school, but Saito dreams it's cheesy and drags her back to bed with him. This puts Akane in an embarrassing position, so she hits him and demands that he get up. Finally, Akane proceeds to scold him for leaving his dishes in the sink and for leaving a mess in the bathroom. He calmly tells her that he'll clean up once the dishes pile up and he can pick up the rubbish once a month as well. This shocks Akane to see how unkempt Saito can be. Saito even questions the need for a bath, which brings Akane to tears knowing that she's sharing a space with someone as untidy as Saito. Saito realizes that they have different values and starts to worry that their marriage might fall apart since they are both unwilling to compromise, but he pushes the thoughts aside on his way to school, reminding himself they are married for their own interests. Deciding to take it easy in the evening, he puts on a zombie-killing game to relax. However, Akane barges in, complaining about the noise, and is baffled to see that he is playing such a horrifying game. She insults his hobby, saying that men who are into violent games are bound to commit crimes, but Saito decides to ignore her, not appreciating that she is generalizing his hobby. Seeing that she is being ignored, she tries to grab the console so the game will stop, but Saito grabs it back, making them get into a comic game of tug-of-war. The fight gets interrupted by the doorbell, causing Akane to let go and answer the door. Saito falls with the console, pulling the wire and shutting the game off, leaving him with unsaved progress. Akane re-enters the room to tell Saito more of his things arrived, but Saito is depressed over the loss of his progress. After putting away his things, he decides to finally take a bath. Ready to enter the tub, he spots Akane with her eyes closed. Seeing that she hasn't noticed him, he backs away and gets ready to leave, but realizes that she might have passed out. He rushes back into the bath area out of worry, but is relieved to see that she is only asleep. He is about to leave, but realizes that she can still drown if she sleeps, so he attempts to wake her by talking to her loudly. Still asleep, Akane insults Saito in her dreams, and Saito briefly considers leaving her. However, he notices Akane slip into the bathwater, so he decides to dive in and drag her out of the bath since she refuses to get out. He accidentally slips on the wet floor, causing him to land under Akane in a compromising position. Akane wakes up only to find herself on top of an equally naked Saito. Thinking Saito is taking advantage of her, she screams and begins throwing bath items at him, forcing him out of the room. Saito attempts to explain the situation, but Akane is too mad and embarrassed to hear him out. Later, as Akane dries her hair, she finally calms down from her outburst. She recounts the encounter in the bath again and realizes Saito might have been trying to save her. Feeling guilty, she tries to apologize when she enters their shared room, but Saito remains cold. This causes Akane to tear up, resolving to make things right with him. The next day at school, Himari finds Akane depressed and moping around in her desk. Himari decides to entertain her and offers an ear to Akane, who jumps into her embrace. Akane confides in Himari about her problem, carefully omitting that it involves Saito. She tells Himari that she wants to mend things with someone she considers her enemy. Himari advises her to have an honest talk and try to respect the other person's feelings. Akane feels envious of Himari, claiming the other girl has always been good in conversations, but Himari tells her that even though she has trouble with some people, she always remembers to try to respect them when they talk. This makes Akane realize that she hasn't been respecting Saito, and has been treating him too harshly as of late. During lunch, Saito sits with Shizi, who suggests getting a divorce if getting along with Akane is too difficult. However, Saito says the marriage has to work in order for him to become CEO. Deciding to teach him a lesson on how to become an effective leader, she tells him that it's important to learn about people and can start with Akane. She tells him that it might be easier to give in to her demands sometimes so they can get along. Taking her advice to heart, Saito considers it but is unsure how to implement it. Returning home, Saito is greeted by Akane, who seems unusually serious. Deciding that talking to her about their relationship is a bad idea, for now he tries to escape to his study. He is surprised when Akane gently grabs his sleeve and asks if they can talk about their marriage. They sit at the dining table and agree that they need to get along in order to live comfortably. They decide to establish house rules so they can respect each other's wishes without feeling bad about things. Despite seeing that cleaning every day is inefficient, Saito remembers Shizi's words about allowing Akane to win once in a while, so he offers to help with chores like laundry and requests permission to touch her when necessary given their shared bed, making it difficult for their bodies not to touch. Embarrassed but understanding, Akane agrees, adding that he must use headphones while playing video games. Saito observes her and realizes that Akane might just be scared of horror games, and that might have been the real reason why she made a huge fuss about it the other day. Saito adds that they should thank each other since he read somewhere that showing gratitude is known for improving relationships. Akane also asks Saito to acknowledge her cooking. Saito explains that calling her food normal is the highest compliment he can give, leaving Akane confused. Saito tells her that explaining his reasoning will take too long, so she decides to leave it at that. That evening, Akane thanked Himari for her advice and recounted the 5-hour conversation she had with Saito, still avoiding mentioning his name. At bedtime, Akane assumes Saito will touch her, so she spreads herself on the bed. When Saito enters, he is shocked by Akane's position, so he reassures her that he won't touch her on purpose. The next day, Saito surprises Akane by buying her favorite cake as a peace offering. Akane is confused about how he knows which cake to buy, and Saito said he remembers her writing it down in school during an event. Touched by the gesture, Akane remembers their agreement, thanks him, and eagerly serves dinner. Saito notices the effort Akane put into dinner and takes a bite of her food, pleased with the flavors. He finally tells her it tastes good, earning him an honest smile from Akane, which shocks him since he's never seen Akane smile at him before. As they wash dishes that evening, Saito realizes that he never notices how attractive Akane is since she is always angry at him. Seeing this new side of Akane makes him appreciate her more. One day as Saito is busy reading a book, Akane comes with a movie CD in her hand, so he thinks she wants him to leave, but she surprises him by inviting him to see it together. She praises the cat movie, which is 24 hours long, but since he can't spare his whole day for just a stupid movie, Saito tries to make an excuse, but luckily it also has a shorter version of 3 hours, which he offers to watch instead. She is very excited to see her favorite movie with him, and she soon gets fully immersed in it, but he can't help but doze off as he finds it very boring. Luckily, just as it is about to end, he wakes up mumbling random things and he smoothly pretends to have seen the whole movie. Since she had a great time watching the highlights, she suggests they should one day watch the longer version as well, but for now, she wants to thank him by watching his favorite movie. However, he has no interest in movies as he is more of a video games person. Staying true to their opposite character, she mentions she has rarely played a game before, as she finds them very boring. After some persuasion, she agrees to play together and he soon teaches her how to play. She is a natural as within no time she gets a hang of it and even manages to defeat him. This moment brings him immense joy and he can't believe he is having so much fun with the same person, whom he used to consider as his lifelong enemy. At night, Saito notices the blanket has slipped off Akane, so he carefully sets it, but she isn't sleeping. She thanked him for the wonderful day they had. He appreciates her kind words and offers to buy a game of her choice whenever they go shopping together, but she politely tells him to call her by her first name because they are married now. He blushes while using her name, so she asks if he wants to talk about something, but he gets awkward and says it's nothing. The next day at school, while Saito is once again sleeping at his desk, his eraser accidentally falls off, so Akane picks it up for him, but Himari sees her and wonders if they had a fight because they are no longer arguing like they used to, which makes her think Akane must hate talking to him. When Akane tells her it is not like that, Himari wonders if they have suddenly become friends instead, but it shocks Akane, who awkwardly defends herself that she could never become friends with an irresponsible person like Saito. Himari finds it weird because she can't remember Akane ever calling him by his first name. Akane feels embarrassed, and since she has no other answer, she rushes out of the class saying she's going home and they will meet tomorrow. Later, Saito visits the library to read a book on communication skills, but Shise comes from behind and pranks him by covering his eyes. She wonders if he can guess her identity, and surprisingly, he quickly identifies her because only she can do such a prank. She notices the communication skills book in his hands, which surprises her because she never thought he would bother to improve himself, but he explains it is to help him improve his relationship with Akane. She wonders if he learned anything new from it, and he says yes. He read some great points on how to enhance solidarity with others through collaboration. After that, Saito stops Akane as he wishes to talk to her, but she freaks out as she had specifically told him not to talk to her in school as it may risk revealing their secret marriage. He asks her if she has any plans with friends after school because he wants to go shopping with her. She misunderstands him and asks if he's asking her for a date, so he drags her to a nearby classroom and explains that it isn't a date. He makes a silly excuse that it will be a hassle to carry all the bags alone, and since they live together, they should buy groceries together. They both gaslight themselves into thinking that it's not a big deal if they go shopping. After their classes, just as Akane is about to leave, Himari stops her because her work shift got cancelled, so she thinks they should walk together, and they can even enjoy Akane's favorite strawberry bread. Akane is tempted by the offer, but she turns her down as she already has plans with a friend. Himari wonders if she is meeting her new friend, whom she had told her about because she would also like to meet him, but Akane says they have already met, which shocks Himari because the only boy she can think of is Saito, as they both know him. Akane apologizes and rushes out from there, but on her way, she accidentally steps on Shisei, who is lying on the floor as part of her plan to stop Akane. She asks Akane about her deal with her cousin, and Akane is unable to understand what she means. Since she's getting late, Akane leaves their conversation unfinished and runs away. Akane arrives at their meeting point before Saito and thinks about why she told Shisei that she had important work. She again reassures herself that they are not going on a date, and soon Saito also arrives there. He asks her where they should go, and she suggests going to a nearby supermarket. The young couple starts shopping, and Saito picks up some eggs, but she gets angry with him and tells him to always compare the prices because the store also has cheaper eggs, and they are basically the same. After that, she spots a limited time offer on meat, so she wishes to buy some for their house, but she's unable to pass through the crowd as everyone wants to get the discount. Saito wants to try his luck, but he faces the same results, and they both lie on the floor. She is hopeful that although they lost, they will be successful next time, but he has no motivation left to ever try again. She tells him it's the survival of the fittest and he must come with her, so he agrees to try again one day. While returning from the store, Saito praises her that she is very resilient and she will make a decent wife. She is happy to hear it, but she corrects him that she is already married. At night, Akane suddenly wakes up and she notices Saito's hand slowly coming towards her, which freaks her out as she thinks he is trying to take advantage of her. He tries to explain that she was the one who came into his personal space and he was just observing her as she looked very cute while sleeping. She is flattered by his response and allows him to look at her while she sleeps. The next morning, they wake up still blushing from the awkward encounter last night, and Akane goes to prepare breakfast for them, but she gets lost in thoughts and accidentally burns their breakfast. Saito hears her scream and comes to help her, but he is not wearing his shirt, which makes her feel a bit awkward, however, and he feels it's perfectly normal. On their way to school, as they are still hungry, he buys some strawberry bread, which they both share. However, Himari suddenly arrives there and she wonders what they are doing together, so Akane makes an excuse that he was stalking her, and they should call the police. Himari is surprised that they are eating the same food, so Akane answers that she couldn't eat the whole thing, so she throws the leftover, which he picks up from the footpath. He tries to defend himself while Himari ignores him and tells Akane to stop wasting food. Later, Saito finds Akane working hard for their upcoming quiz, which surprises him because he never has to put any effort as he has a photographic memory, and it's hard for him to forget anything taught in class. He makes her a sandwich, which surprises him, and she wonders why he did that, but when she tastes it, she finds it delicious. She decides to appreciate his sandwich by putting in all her effort and getting the best grades on the quiz. In the next few days, whenever she studies, he makes her sandwiches, which she appreciates, but the lack of sleep takes a toll on her health, and one day she collapses in school. Luckily, Himari is there to help her, and she asks if Akane is alright, so she blames it on her lack of sleep due to exam preparation. Himari advises her to keep a balance between studies and health, but Akane doesn't care about her body as long as she gets the top score. Himari accidentally says that despite all her efforts, Saito will once again get the first position, which makes Akane angry as she's hopeful of her victory, even if it takes her centuries. Himari reminds her that they will soon graduate from there, so she plans to study at the same university as him. Akane rejects the idea because it would suggest she has a crush on him. Later, Saito comes to give Akane her sandwich, but he finds her sleeping on her study desk. He soon realizes that she has a high fever, as she is sweating a lot, so he takes her to their bed and uses a damp cloth to lower her body temperature. He thinks this must be the reason why she collapsed at school, but she finally reveals her lifelong dream of becoming a doctor, and for that, she can't slack off on hard work. She admits that her parents couldn't afford the expensive medical colleges, so the only reason she agreed to marry Saito was because her grandmother promised to pay all her expenses in exchange for that. Saito is taken aback by this revelation, and she continues saying that no matter how hard she studied, she could never beat him even though he hardly ever studies. He tries to make her feel better by explaining that talent varies from person to person, so she admits that she hates him because of his God-given ability to memorize everything, but she also admires him. It shocks Saito, while Akane also soon realizes what she just said, so she feels embarrassed and tells him to forget about it because she hates him. After a while, Saito rechecks her temperature and fails to go down, so he thinks they should call an ambulance, but Akane insists she's fine and someone more serious might need the ambulance, and if they get occupied that person might die. He tries calling it anyway, but unfortunately, his call is unable to connect, so he decides to do something about it as he can't let her die like this. He picks her up, which shocks her, and he starts rushing towards the hospital. Akane is surprised by his dedication to help her, and she never thought he was strong enough to carry her so easily. She thinks he will make fun of her because of her dream, but he believes with hard work and dedication, she can achieve anything. He looks back on the recent few days and thinks that although they were forced to marry each other, he is now sure that they will have a happy ending someday. However, it turns out to be just an ordinary fever, and she is back to normal in a few days. One day, as Saito is sleeping in his bed, Akane comes to wake him up because he is getting late for school. He feels lazy and wants to continue sleeping, so she threatens to hit him with the same pan she just used for frying the eggs. Later, as she is complaining about his lack of hygiene and only being good at studies, he teases her about her looking up to him, which makes her very embarrassed, and she blames it on her fever. Saito once again gets the top score in the quiz, and Himari comes to congratulate him, which makes him feel very good, and he jokingly tells her to worship him. However, he gets uncomfortable when she gets too close to him, so she realizes like other boys, he also fails to resist her huge personality. Akane watches them from a distance, and when Himari leaves, she comes furiously towards him and tells him that he shouldn't get too close to other girls because he's a married man now. On their way to the school, Akane tells Saito to stop, but he thinks she will hurt him, so he refuses to stop. However, it turns out that she just wanted to give him his lunch, which he had forgotten at home. She thinks he intentionally left it at home as he doesn't like her cooking, but he praises it, which makes her blush. She thanks him for the compliment and tells him to finish it completely because it takes a lot of time and effort to cook food. During their recess, as Saito is about to eat his lunch, Shisei interrupts him as she wants him to share his lunch with her. He knows she must have already eaten her breakfast, and she admits she had 3 bowls of rice, which he notes is more than what he gets to eat. She believes that is a separate matter as she presently wants to try his wife's cooking. Since their whole class finds her cute, they all gather around them and try to convince Saito to allow her to share his food with her. He gives in to the pressure and tells her to only have a spoon, but when he opens the box, Himari notices his lunch is the same as Akane's. They all start speculating whether they are dating, and Akane gets flustered to hear this. She as well as Saito try to deny it, but everyone keeps teasing them. While they are busy defending themselves, Shisei finishes his entire lunch, which makes him shocked because he only allowed her 1 bite, but she says she ate it all in 1 bite, and you should be thanking her as she took care of all the evidence. She is right as everyone had already gone back to their seats, but he asks if she ate it just for that reason, so she admits she wanted to taste it as well. She worries about her cousin, so she asks him if he is doing all right at his new home, and he silently replies in affirmative by smiling and gently caressing her hair. Later, as Saito is walking into the school, Himari jumps in front of him, which surprises him. She wishes to confirm whether his lunch was really made by Akane, so he lies that they both bought frozen food and Akane must have copied him. Without any hesitation, she directly asks if he and Akane are dating, and he denies it, which makes her relaxed. She assures him that she will do her part in clearing up the rumor, while Shisei silently observes them from a distance. At night, Akane suddenly wakes up screaming as she sees a small dark figure in their room. She tells Saito about the ghost, but since he can't see anything, he tells her to return to sleep. She keeps disturbing him, and since he has no other option, he gets up and asks what she wants him to do, but there is suddenly a faint noise, so she jumps and clings to him. He offers to go and check it, but she feels scared and asks him to give her company. Later, as he is sitting in a room, she comes there and sits in the corner, shivering in fear. She tells him that they must move out as their place is haunted. He asks her to bring any proof, such as pictures or videos, but she starts crying as it's too dangerous, and it would risk her safety. She brings her stuff and starts studying there, so he asks her about it, and she makes an excuse that she is there to protect him, in case he gets attacked by the ghost. He mentions he will be fine and she should return to her room. However, she refuses to leave as she has marked that territory like a wild cat. She keeps following him, and even when he goes to the restroom, she starts banging on the door, asking him to keep it open. Later, when she needs to take a bath, she again gets scared and asks him to come with her. While he wants to turn her down, he agrees to accompany her for one day and silently sits next to the door. After every few minutes, she confirms his presence to reassure her, and when he doesn't respond, she panics and rushes out without wearing anything, so he tells her to cover herself. The following day at school, Shisei notices Saito's a bit upset, and she wonders if something happened with Akane, which surprises him how she knew that, so she reveals it's because of the way he sounds. He tells her about their issue at home that Akane thinks their house is haunted, so she agrees to help him investigate it. Shisei then tells Akane that she knows about her marriage to Saito, which freaks them out, so they quickly take her to an empty classroom, where no one can hear their conversation. Akane thinks Saito leaked their secret, as only they know about it in their whole school, but he tells her it wasn't him, as she used her brilliant mind to figure out the whole thing on her own. Shisei confirms that he is telling the truth, so Akane realizes that it shouldn't be surprising for her that his cousin knows about their marriage. She apologizes to Shisei because they couldn't tell her about it, but she changes the conversation and asks about the ghost in their house. Akane notes Saito doesn't believe her, but Shisei confirms her suspicion that their house has evil spirits, and if they are not exorcised, Akane's grades will suffer a lot. Akane feels scared after hearing this and asks her for help, so Shisei notes they must invite her to their house and have complete faith in her abilities. They soon arrive outside the house, where she tells them that she can sense several evil spirits from inside and she fears it will soon be destroyed. It scares them, and Akane wonders if they should burn it, but Shisei reassures her that she will take care of the evil spirits. She notes she will begin her investigation by trying to find the root cause of the problem, and she starts with Saito's study room, which he mostly uses for reading. She thinks he must be hiding his lewd books in there because in the past, whenever she tried to see what he was reading, he always used to hide it. Akane warns him that such material is not allowed in their house, and if they find any such material, she will confiscate it. However, as Shisei goes through the room, she only finds his underwear, which makes Akane embarrassed, but Shisei starts playing with it, so Saito grabs it from her. After that, it's Akane's study room's turn, but she notes there aren't any ghosts there. However, Shisei sees right through her plan that she wants to protect her privacy. Akane then takes her to their bedroom where she sees the ghost, and she describes the whole scene of how she saw the ghost, which resembled a little kid. After hearing the detailed description, Shisei tells them that she has discovered the ghost's identity, which impresses them both, and they are eager to hear who it is. Shisei admits that she is the ghost, which leaves them shocked. So she explains that she got their house's keys from Grandpa, and for the past few days, she has been visiting their house. They wonder why she came in secret, so she tells them that she didn't want to disturb their romance, which leaves them embarrassed. She wishes to eat dinner at their house, and although Akane is relieved that there is no ghost there, she refuses to cook her food. Shisei wins her over by praising her cooking skills, as she has eaten the lunch she prepared for Saito. Later, while they are eating, Shisei gets some rice on her face, so Saito, being the gentleman he is, cleans it for her. But it makes Akane jealous as she thinks they are too close. Later, they play video games and Shisei sits on Saito's lap, appreciating his gameplay, which again makes Akane jealous as she thinks they are enjoying it a bit too much. Saito notices her looking at him and asks if everything is alright because she resembles a demon when she is angry, but it only makes her angrier. After that, Saito leaves to take a bath, but surprisingly Shisei offers to accompany him, which freaks out Akane because they are basically the same age. Shisei notes that she always takes a bath with him, but Akane furiously tells them to take a bath one by one, and seeing her anger, they both obediently follow her command. After that, as Saito peacefully reads his book in bed, Akane comes and asks about Shisei, so he tells her that she is gaming and he has already prepared a bed for her. Akane feels relieved as they finally have some space to talk alone, and he wonders if there is something important she wants to discuss with him. She says she has a few complaints for him, which she couldn't have discussed in Shisei's presence, so he places his book away and gets ready to hear her lecture. She expresses her disappointment as he did not tell her about buying the cat game because she wished to play it first. He thinks it would have been evil if she planned to practice before him so she could destroy him, but she just wanted to play it before Shisei. While uttering these words, even she is unsure why she wanted that, so she mocks his intelligence and says since he is so smart, he should know the reason, which leads to a silly argument between the couple. Once she is done with her rant, she feels relieved and admits that she should do this every day because it takes a huge burden off her chest, but he thinks she is treating him like a sandbag. He wonders if she is done with her complaints, but she still has one left. She hesitantly brings up Shisei's name again, so he apologizes that he invited her to stay the night with them. However, she only wanted to tell him that he is pampering her a lot, but he feels she is a silly young girl who needs extra attention. As they are busy in their conversation, she suddenly feels he touched her under the blanket, but he notes he would never touch such a dangerous person like her. He also feels like she touched him, but it turns out to be Shisei, who was hiding in their blanket, listening to their conversation about her. Shisei says she sleeps with him every time he comes over, but he disagrees as it only happens when she wants to. Shisei tells Akane that ever since she was a kid, she feels calm when she hugs Saito. So she thinks it's unfair that Akane is always with him, but Akane explains that she is not doing it because she wants to, she is simply following the conditions set by their grandparents for their marriage. Shisei makes them feel even more awkward by saying if they want to do the deed, she will sleep on the floor, but Akane strongly rejects any such relationship between them and asks her to sleep with them. After a while, as Saito falls asleep, Shisei faces Akane and notes that Saito is a bit slow, so she needs to clearly express her feelings, otherwise he would never understand them. She tells Akane that she is concerned for her cousin's happiness, whether he would be able to live a peaceful life with her, but after spending some time at their house, she is relieved. Akane is clueless about what to answer, so Shisei just cuddles with Saito, while Akane reminds her to keep their distance and have some shame. In the past, Himari had always wanted to be close to Akane. Even when Akane is clearly not interested in becoming her friend, Himari simply brushed it off and continued talking to her. She was persistent, always finding ways to engage Akane in conversation. Eventually, she even managed to convince Akane to hang out with her by promising her a delicious strawberry parfait. Now the two were sitting in a cafe talking. Himari questions Akane's feelings for Saito, but Akane quickly denies any feelings for him. Gathering her courage, Himari admits that she actually has a crush on Saito. Akane is stunned, unable to comprehend how someone like Himari could fall for someone like Saito. Himari, eager to defend her love for Saito, starts listing Saito's good qualities. She mentions that he is dependable since he can act calmly when everyone else is panicked. Akane suddenly remembers a time when Saito had helped her by caring for her out of concern. Himari continues listing Saito's positive traits such as his confidence and his hidden kindness, since he looks like the type of person to be concerned over others, but he has checked on her when nobody else does when she feels down. Himari decides to ask for Akane's help to get closer to Saito since Akane and Saito seem to have a close bond despite their constant arguments. Though Akane hesitates, she agrees to help her. Himari suggests that Akane lists down things she knows about Saito, so she'll learn about him more. The question stumps Akane. For the first time, she realizes that despite living under the same roof as Saito, she actually knows almost nothing about her husband. Back at home, Saito is peacefully minding his own business, engrossed in a book. However, he soon notices Akane staring at him intently while gripping a pen and notepad. Akane's odd behavior continues into the evening. Saito catches her lurking outside his window, clearly trying to spy on him. During dinner, she takes it a step further by recording a video of him as he eats. Saito grows increasingly uneasy and finally demands an explanation. Out of nowhere, she asks him for his type of girl and the type of food he likes. Seeing no harm in answering any of the questions, he answers that he doesn't particularly like any type of girl, but really loves to eat steak and sushi. Akane raises an eyebrow at his expensive taste, but becomes slightly disgusted upon learning that he prefers his steak rare. In her opinion, rare is just raw, no matter how much Saito argues otherwise. The next morning, Akane reports her findings to Himari. Shikun exaggerates, telling Himari that Saito likes his meat raw. Himari, instead of being repulsed, finds this wild side of Saito oddly charming. Akane had expected at least a little disgust, but instead, her friends seem even more smitten. Himari explains that learning more about Saito makes her feel closer to him. Seeing how eager Himari is, she tells Himari that Saito enjoys video games and reading, even mentioning that he likes to read a little before bed. Himari, surprised, asks how Akane knows his bedtime routine. Akane quickly covers her slip-up, claiming that Saito had talked about it with Shisei. Curious, Himari then asks if Akane knows what specific games Saito plays. Without thinking, Akane confirms that he enjoys horror games, not realizing she gave away a graphic description of the games he plays and how he plays them. After school, Saito and Akane discuss dinner plans in the kitchen. Saito is visibly disappointed to hear that fish is on the menu instead of steak. He had hoped that after all her questions about his favorite food yesterday, Akane would prepare steak for him. Feeling oddly responsible for the misunderstanding, Akane decides to cook steak herself. She and Saito head out to buy the necessary ingredients so they can prepare the meal. When they return home, Akane prepares a steak dinner for them to enjoy, eagerly waiting for Saito to give his feedback on her food. Saito nervously takes a bite and is pleasantly surprised by how good it tastes. He even compliments Akane on her cooking, which brings her to tears since he finally acknowledges that her food is good. Saito remarks that he wants Akane to make this exact meal for him every day. Akane, caught off guard, briefly thinks he's proposing. Saito quickly corrects her, reminding her that they're technically already married. Still, Akane is over the clouds with his compliment, vowing he can look forward to delicious meals every day. Saito notices their closeness and notes that Akane is leaning a bit provocatively. The next day, Himari approaches Saito and with feigned casualness, asks about his type of girl. He clarifies that he doesn't believe people fall into simple types. Learning to love the person for who they are as a whole is important if he decides to get into a relationship. Himari is amazed by his perspective, though she tries to hide it. Instead, she grumbles about how guys keep confessing to her, believing they only like her for her boobs over her true self. Saito tells her it must be tough being pretty. Himari takes it as a compliment. Then, out of nowhere, she blurts out a sudden confession. But before Saito can react, she quickly laughs it off as a joke and dashes to her seat. Saito, however, is just as flustered. Even Shisei notices the slight blush creeping onto his face as she reveals herself from just under him the whole conversation. Later at home, while Saito is absorbed in his video games, Akane sneaks into his study, hoping to find something useful about him that she can report to Himari. As she stoops around, she stumbles upon a notebook labeled Secret and tries to read it. Before she can open it, Saito suddenly appears in the doorway, catching her red-handed. Akane immediately shifts the blame onto him, accusing him of purposely leaving a suspicious notebook out to lure her in. Shifting gears to cover her suspicious actions, Akane decides to ask him for book recommendations instead. Saito recommends a history book, stating that its charm lies in how unexpectedly funny it is. When she tells Himari about it, Himari attempts to read the book as well but quickly gives up, finding it far too difficult to understand. Akane apologizes for not asking Saito to recommend a simpler book, but Himari reassures her that it is fine since now she has the perfect topic to talk about with Saito. Akane watches from the doorway. Jealousy creeps up on her, however. She doesn't understand why she is feeling so strongly against them. Inside, Saito and Himari chat easily. He thanks her for always keeping his arguments with Akane from escalating. Himari laughs but then reveals that Akane is the one who suggested the book. Saito furrows his brow, confused by Akane's actions. Himari shifts the conversation and recalls how Akane once saved her from bullies. Because of her naturally blonde hair, people treat her differently. Some mock her, but Akane never cares about their opinions. She stayed by Himari's side despite the harsh judgment. Saito listens closely before complimenting Himari's hair, saying it suits her. She smiles, remembering how Akane once said the same thing. That reassurance gave her confidence, and the bullying eventually stopped. Outside, Shisei catches Akane peeking into the room. She makes a comment that Himari and Saito are perfect for each other since Himari has always loved Saito from their freshman days. She wonders out loud if Akane is against the idea of them getting together despite how much better off Saito will be with Himari by his side. Later in the day, Himari hugs Akane tightly. Now she can talk to Saito whenever she wants. She also excitedly shares that Saito complimented her. As a thank you, she promises Akane some strawberry tarts, and they plan to chat more over at Akane's place. Akane's excitement over the tarts quickly fades when she realizes she no longer lives in her old home. Inviting Himari over would be difficult. So she tries to convince Himari that she cannot have her over since she now lives in a barrel that she had cut in half. Himari frowns, suspecting that Akane doesn't want her to visit considering Shisei had previously bragged about visiting Akane's house. Feeling pressured, Akane reluctantly agrees to have Himari over soon. She tells Saito about the visit, reminding him it's absolutely important for him to be as scarce as possible. She devises a plan to hide his things and he has to stay in his study for the duration of Himari's visit. However, before she can even start putting away his things, the doorbell rings, signaling Himari's arrival. Akane suddenly panics, lost at how to hide Saito. Saito urges Akane to keep Himari distracted while he tidies up, but before he can finish, Akane welcomes Himari inside. With no time to hide, he takes cover in the living room while the girls chat in the kitchen over tea and strawberry tarts. As they talk, Himari asks if she can invite Saito on a date. Akane hesitates, unsure why Himari is asking her permission. Himari still suspects Akane might have a crush on Saito. She assures Akane that if that's the case, she will back off because their friendship matters more. Akane quickly dismisses the idea, insisting she has no feelings for Saito. Overhearing the conversation, Saito suddenly feels a pang of disappointment that his own wife had just admitted to disliking him. The next day, Himari gathers her courage and confesses to Saito, asking him on a date. To her delight, Saito agrees. Outside the classroom, Akane and Shisei eavesdrop. Shisei questions if Akane is really okay with it, reminding her that Saito is technically being unfaithful. She also points out that Akane clearly has feelings for him and should do something if it bothers her. But Akane retains her composure, deciding this is for the best since she and Saito are only married in name. That evening during dinner, Saito casually mentions Himari's confession and their upcoming date. Akane congratulates him but demands to know why he is bringing it up. Saito reminds her of their marriage and wants to be sure if it is really okay. Frustrated, Akane snaps that they were forced into marriage so he can date whoever he wants since it doesn't concern her. The next day, as Saito prepares to leave, he hesitates and asks again if Akane is sure about the date. She feigns indifference, but as he turns to go, she suddenly stops him by hugging him from behind. Admitting her feelings at last, she confesses that she doesn't want to see him with another girl. Even if their marriage is forced, she feels jealous. Saito smiles and tells her that he already turned down the date. He insists they go shopping together, even promising to buy her whatever she wants as an apology for tricking her. He even adds that they should buy rings so she wouldn't get jealous anymore, making her flustered at the idea of having matching jewelry. Taking her hand, Saito eagerly leads her to their date. The next day, Himari cheerfully chats with Saito. Despite being rejected, she remains optimistic, saying she can always try again. She tells him that persistence has always been her strong point since that's how she won over Akane's friendship. Shise, who was standing near them, says that Himari needs to get her approval first, bluntly stating that Saito will only date girls she approves of. Meanwhile, from a distance, Akane watches their exchange. Determination fills her as she quietly vows not to lose Saito to anyone. It is a normal day in class. Himari brings out the lunch she packs for Saito. It is raw meat and garlic. Akane says it is Saito's favorite, but Saito quickly refuses and says he brings his lunch. However, Himari insists, saying she works hard for that lunch. Additionally, their classmates, hearing about this, also urge Saito to try at least the food Himari works so hard for. He finally agrees. Himari thanks him for this and even offers to feed him. Surprisingly, the meat is not as awful as it seems. Though it looks raw, it is cooked thoroughly and tastes good. Saito offers to take it from there, but Himari refuses. Now Saito feels like a chick being fed by the mother chicken. On the other hand, Akane comments, saying Himari should eat her lunch already too, but Himari quickly insists she is jealous. Upon hearing this, Akane becomes so defensive and refuses the accusation, but Himari tells her not to worry and proceeds to feed her too. Now everyone in the class looks at them confused about what is going on. After class, Himari praises Saito, saying he is the smartest guy in class. She proceeds to say she is having a hard time following the math classes and asks if he can tutor her. Saito hesitantly agrees. With this, Himari becomes so ecstatic and says they should have a study session at her place since her parents will not be around. Saito is not buying the idea. He recalls how he turns off their date, but Himari still pushes through, saying she will make him fall for her. Akane dislikes the idea of them being alone together, so she butts in on their conversation and warns Himari that Saito might do something inappropriate to her, which may result in them being married to each other in high school. Himari just laughs and says that is impossible, yet she still considers what Akane says and tells her she should study with them. With the two smartest people in the class, Himari will surely catch up with the lessons more. However, it does not end there. Shise, saying she has been in third place for quite some time already, so Himari insists she should go too. With the three of them teaching her, she will surely rank up. The four of them go to Akane's place, where they decide to study. Himari is so hard to teach as she does not seem to know anything about math. It is a good thing that Akane and she are friends. Akane remembers how her grades started to decline in their first year of high school, so they go back to 10th grade discussing so many things that make Shise bored. At the end of the day, Himari gets it, and she even praises how great of a teacher Saito is. Himari draws closer to Saito and insists they should do more. Meanwhile, Akane is greatly infuriated by this scene. Shise also says she wants to play a game with Saito, so they decide to take a break for a while. The three of them play memory, and Akane is very determined to win against Saito. When the game finally ends, the sky is already dim. Saito leaves the three of them to buy something to eat, but to his surprise, Akane follows him, saying she is afraid he might run away with the winds. She mentions how good Saito's memory is. Not only is he smart, but also very good at playing memory games. Instead of bragging about it, Saito only tells her how creepy that is. It turns out everyone in the Houjou family has some kind of unique trait. He has a good memory, while Shise is very skilled in calculating difficult problems. Saito recalls how someone accuses him of being a stalker, all because he memorizes every personal detail a person has. Akane tells him she wishes she had the same talent so she does not have to study so hard. She would also be able to memorize what a person likes or does not, so she can be more considerate of them. Saito only mocks her thoughts, and they proceed to fight like usual while walking. Meanwhile, back in Akane's house, Himari and Shise have a fun time playing video games. Saito and Akane come back just in time, catching them playing. Unbeknownst to the two, the console they are playing is owned by Saito, but to avoid accusations, Akane just says it is his dad's, so they brush off any thought about it, and the two offer smacks for them. After the study session, Himari thanks Saito for his help and proposes they should do it at his place next time. Akane becomes anxious with this, and Saito also turns red with the thought. Because Himari becomes so excited about how Saito's color instantly changes, she gets the cup of tea she is drinking, and her uniform becomes wet. With this, Saito quickly grabs a towel and then offers it to Himari, who wonders why he knows where the towels are. Akane and Saito are startled, but he just says is a good guess. Himari also accepts his answer and says he's a genius. Shisei then brings Himari to the sink for her to clean herself. Being left alone, the couple converses and Akane scolds Saito, saying it would not have happened if only he and Himari were not flirting with each other. Saito denies this accusation, but Akane still insists that it is his fault for agreeing to tutor her, when he never even tutored Akane before. Saito tells her how he tries to, but she keeps yelling at him. In the middle of their argument, the lights turn off, causing Akane to scream so loud. Saito tells her it is just a blackout and then teases her about how easily scared she is. Saito proposes to check the breaker, but Akane clings to him, not wanting to be left alone in the dark place. Then she asks a question out of nowhere, asking if it is a guy thing to not like stubborn girls. Though Saito wonders why she thinks about it, he answers she's fine as she is. He tells her more about herself, being shy, stubborn, and hardworking at the same time. Saito and Akane are in a deep talk when the lights come back on. Then entering from the door is Himari, who is all changed by now. She is shocked to see how close the two are. She teases them by saying they are finally getting along, but the two become startled and deny it. The day after that, Himari is having a hard time in class again, and she decides to consult Saito about it. She wants Akane to join them too, but Akane, like usual, is so grumpy when it comes to Saito. To Saito's surprise, Akane comes to him when Shinsei and Himari leave, and then she talks to him in a flirtatious manner, telling him to teach her the lesson when they get home. At home, Saito teaches Akane about his study method he learned through an experiment, and it works just fine for Akane. Saito tells her how he tried the experiment on a few people before, but it never works so well, which makes him conclude that Akane is smart. After that, Akane wants to study more, but Saito stops her, saying she might get sick again and they should rest. They argue again because of this. In the end, Akane wins the argument, so Saito asks her why she is so pressed when it comes to studying. It is no secret to him that Akane wants to be a doctor, but he still asks her why. Saito wants to know more about Akane, and this makes her heart flutter. Akane's younger sister has an illness, so she spends most of her time lying in bed, while Akane's parents work hard to pay for her hospital bills. Back then, Akane could not do anything to save her little sister, so she wanted to be a doctor to help save those in similar situations. The next day, Akane is watching the TV news when the little idol flashes on the screen. She immediately changes the channel. When asked by Saito, she says it makes her indifferent. She mentions how lucky Saito must be to have Shisei and recalls how she used to have a little sister too. Her words make Saito feel bad. After class, Saito asks Shisei for advice on how to cheer up Akane. Although Shisei insists that Saito must be in love with Akane already, he only answers her by saying he does not want a gloomy roommate. So Shisei tells him to take her out shopping for the kind of things Akane likes, like girly stuff, stylish things, and cute sweets. Saito is shocked to know Akane is girly. Shisei even tells him to practice asking Akane out since there is a festival selling sweets all over the world right now. Back at home, Akane is silently cooking when Saito approaches her, asking her if she wants to go out on their next day off. Akane is so shocked by his sudden invitation that she does not notice the pot she is cooking is turning dark, slowly burning. Either way, Akane agrees to go out with him. Akane is meeting her grandma today, and as they are eating together, her grandmother cannot help but ask if anything has happened to her and Saito already. Akane, though ashamed, just tells her grandma about Saito's invitation to go out. Her grandmother is so delighted to hear this that she even tells her she can die without any regrets. In her grandmother's house, Akane's grandma shows her a whole closet full of beautiful different dresses her grandma prepares for when she ever falls in love. Though Akane insists she is not in love with Saito, her grandma still shows her different clothes, even lingerie and underwear she prepares just for her. The day of the date arrives, Akane is wearing a pink dress, which truly leaves Saito in awe. They go out together, going to different stores. Saito finds out Akane is banned from visiting a specific cat cafe because she goes a little bit too far on her last visit. They also go to karaoke, but Akane tends to overthink it because Himari tells her whenever a guy and a girl go to karaoke for a date, they always kiss. Nevertheless, they still go in and choose a few songs and even sing a song together. After singing a few more songs, both of them become tired and suggest going somewhere to relax. They come inside a lemonade place where there is a swing they can hang out on. Akane asks Saito why he asks her out, and Saito answers by telling her how bad he feels for making her remember her sister and how he wants to make Akane feel better. In return for Saito's kindness, Akane agrees to go anywhere Saito wants, and by this, she means the supplement store. Saito is a sucker for supplements. He tries every single vitamin offered to him by the personnel. He even takes protein powder without any water. Akane cannot believe her eyes. On the way home, Akane sees a ring displayed on the sidewalk. Saito tells her she should get it, but it is not something a high schooler can afford. They proceed to walk, and Akane thanks Saito for taking her out and tells him she is better now. Saito cannot help but appreciate Akane's smile. Akane remembers a memory from her childhood. She watches her mother cook with a ring on her finger. She asks her if the ring ever gets in the way of her cooking, but her mother tells her no because it is made to fit her, and it is a symbol of her father's love for her mom. It is a symbol that means they will be together no matter what. Her mother tells Akane she will understand it one day when she finds someone who will make her fall in love too. At home, Saito and Akane sit at the table, eating breakfast. Akane sighs, complaining about how hard she worked to prepare the meal, only for Saito to be completely glued to the TV. He barely acknowledges her effort, which sparks yet another petty argument between them, just like old times. As their bickering continues, something suddenly clicks in Saito's mind. He remembers the ring Akane was eyeing during their date. After class, Saito and Shisei talk while walking. Saito wants to drop by Shisei's place before heading home. Shisei also agrees to this, as she has always been fond of Saito. Excited by the idea, Shisei wastes no time and immediately calls for her car to pick them up. At the school gates, a girl dressed in a maid's uniform greets them. It's Shisei's service driver. Though Saito specifically tells her to be safe when driving, the car is still running so fast that Saito starts shouting. Arriving at Shisei's place, everything looks grand. Their house is big and has expensive-looking things all around. The two of them start hanging out by playing all sorts of games Shisei likes. It has been a while ever since Saito's last visit to Shisei's place, so she is ecstatic. Just when they are playing vampires, an intimidating woman appears, catching them in an awkward position that makes Saito panic. However, the intimidating demeanor of the woman instantly breaks as she showers Saito with kisses. It was Shisei's mother. He calls her auntie. The lady, just like her daughter, is also very fond of Saito. She even offers him to have dinner with them tonight, but Saito refuses, saying Akane must have cooked something already for them back at home. Saito proceeds to tell her the main reason why he is there. He wants a part-time job since he wants to get Akane that ring she liked so much. With this, her aunt's eyebrows furrowed, telling him he does not need a part-time job because he is the sole heir of the Houjou group. However, Saito does not want to owe his grandpa anything, so he prefers to have a part-time job. The conversation quickly escalates. His aunt, clearly frustrated, brings up the fixed marriage between him and Akane. It's obvious that she still hopes for him to end up with Shisei. However, despite her reservations, she eventually relents and grants his request. Their company happens to need someone to translate an obscure language for their software. Given Saito's near-perfect memory, she figures he won't have any trouble handling it. Saito also shows no hesitation towards this. He is confident that he will be able to master the job in a single night. Later that evening, Saito comes home and drowns himself with loads of books, scanning through each to master the language his aunt was talking about. As Akane checks on him, she asks her what he's studying for. However, Saito just comes up with an excuse, saying there's a language he wants to pick up so bad, so he is working extra hard to do it. Akane questions his learning method, but Saito only tells her that it is his way of studying and that giving it a bedtime rest will make it stick in his memory. As days pass, Akane starts noticing a change in Saito's routine. Every day after class, he comes home later than usual. Saito keeps it a secret that he is working in Shisei's house. Shisei often distracts Saito from working, her naturally clingy nature making it difficult for him to focus. As they sit together, Shisei opens up to Saito. Though she isn't jealous that he's working hard to buy Akane a gift, she admits that she feels sad. Ever since he got married, she never had the chance to play with him again. This made her lonely. Saito realizes Shisei is right, so he wants to make it up to her by doing anything she wants. Shisei requested for him to lie by her side and lull her to sleep, so he did. Back in the house, Akane interrogates Saito because he's late again. She asks him where he has been. Hiding his real reasons, Saito just tells her he ran some errands, and when she asks further questions, he refuses to answer them. He then goes straight to the shower and tells Akane he is tired to avoid any additional questions. However, when he passes by Akane, she notices a female scent coming from Saito, which makes her worried. Akane comes to meet with her grandmother the next day. They converse in a restaurant and Akane opens up about her worries with Saito. He goes home late at night and wears a woman's scent. Akane knows there are a lot of people who like Saito, so it makes her worry. Her grandmother laughs and sees her younger self in Akane as stubborn and dishonest about her feelings. She advises Akane to stop lying to herself, but then again, Saito and Akane are different. In class, Imare complains to Akane that Saito turned her down again. Just as they are talking, Shisei passes by and she recognizes her scent from Saito the other night. At home, everything is the same. Akane eats dinner alone and Saito is late again. Already concerned, Akane finds a way to contact Saito. She does not have his phone number, so she calls their home telephone instead. Shisei's housekeeper is the one who answers the call, and although it's Saito, whom Akane wants to talk to, she's greeted by a woman's voice. The woman introduces herself as Shisei's mother. She knows who Akane is from the moment she holds the phone, but instead of letting her know where her spouse is and what he is doing, she tells her all sorts of things that sound rude to Akane. like how they have been forced into marriage and Saito's whereabouts are none of her concerns. She even mentions that their marriage is just part of his grandfather's games. Finally, Saito's task in the company has come to an end. Her aunt thanks and congratulates him while handing him his paycheck. She gets confident he will not make any mistakes, so there's no need for any review of his work. Before going home, he drops by the jewelry shop where the ring Akane liked was displayed, and he made sure to buy it as a gift. Arriving home late again, Saito is being scolded by Akane from the doorstep of their house. She accuses him of cheating with Shisei and even mentions how he should have married her instead. Although Saito explains, telling her they are nothing like that and everything is just a misunderstanding, Akane refuses to listen and does not believe a single word he says. Just as she is about to leave, Saito stops her and shows the ring he's been saving up for. Seeing this, Akane's mood changes. She becomes soft in an instant, giving Saito a chance to finally explain his side of the story and apologizing for always going home late at night the last few days. Akane could not believe it. She stutters while asking Saito why he did that, but Saito only says it's a sign of peace as he wants them to get along. Hearing those words, Akane decides to walk out and go straight to her room before peeking her head out the door and thanking Saito for the gift. Waking up next to each other the next day, Saito catches Akane staring at the ring in her hand. He compliments it by saying it suits her. Since Saito is no longer working that night, Akane is excited to cook something good for dinner so they can enjoy the night. While getting ready for school, Akane cannot contain her joy as she gets lost in her thoughts while looking at her ring. During breakfast, Saito notices the change in her mood. Lately, Akane has been extra cheerful and it reflects in everything she does. Akane forgets to take off her ring before heading to school. To avoid anyone else seeing it, Saito immediately makes a move. He drags Akane into a corner where no one can see and talks to her about the ring. Understanding his concern, Akane carefully slips the ring off and tucks it into her pouch. Despite her caution, Shisei catches sight of her movements. Curious, she approaches and questions what Akane is hiding. Her sharp eyes quickly land on the ring, admiring its beauty. Without hesitation, she asks if she can have it. However, Akane refuses, not because Saito bought it for her, but because it is her favorite ring. In the house, Akane notices her ring is not in her pouch, so she goes back to every place she might have lost it. Desperation pushes her to go back to school, checking every hallway and classroom, even asking people if they have seen a ring. She can't believe she lost it, but more than that, she refuses to let Saito know. The thought of telling him is unbearable. While walking back, her mind races for a solution. A bold idea comes to her. Maybe she could buy another ring identical to the one she lost. That way, Saito wouldn't have to know. But as soon as the thought crosses her mind, she shakes it off. It will never be the same. That thing is something Saito worked so hard to buy. It is indeed a priceless gift from Saito, so she decides to find it before Saito finds out. In class, Akane is noticeably spacing out. The missing ring is constantly bugging her. After class, she always proceeded to look for it everywhere, but to no avail, she still hadn't found it. Shisei, appearing from nowhere, notices her upset mood and offers to help her find it. She says she's doing it because Akane is a good person, and he wants Saito to have peace of mind because she loves her. So the two of them look for the ring inside the school until evening comes. Walking home in disappointment, Akane feels sorry for giving Shisei the trouble of finding the ring. After all, it is she who lost it and not Shisei. Shisei suggests seeking help from Saito because he is reliable and could pretty much solve anything. However, that's the last thing Akane would do. It seems that fates have been twisted and Akane is the one going home late now while Saito waits on the dinner table, waiting for her to come home. Saito sits in silence when the door creates an opening sound. Saito is hoping for Akane, but it isn't her who comes in. Shisei enters the home and tells Saito Akane is not going home yet. Turns out, Shisei comes to the house because she smelled Akane's seafood curry earlier. This baffles Saito. Shisei knows where Akane is but refuses to tell him. So if he wants to know where she is, he must look for her himself. So the next day, Saito does exactly what Shisei told him to do. He stalks Akane and finds out where she's heading every day after school. Upon noticing Akane's empty fingers, Saito gets reminded of the ring. Sitting alone under the pouring rain, Akane feels bad for losing it. However, Saito appears with an umbrella in hand. Though he is thankful for Akane's efforts in finding it, he tells her it's okay and they should just head home already. After all, it's just a ring and they could still buy another one. What Saito does not know is that the ring holds meaning for Akane. She explains to him that although their marriage is forced, that ring isn't, meaning it is a gift that demonstrates Saito's feelings for her. Seeing how stubborn Akane is about finding the ring, Saito gives up on trying to convince her to stop. Instead, he offers to help her find it. She tells him every detail of how she lost it, including everything she's done in her search so far. To Akane, it feels hopeless to find it anymore, given that she already spent days looking for it, but with Saito's exceptional memory, their chances of success increase significantly. Every place they visited that day is etched into his mind. Together, they retrace their steps, every store, every street, and even the smallest details of their day. With Saito's sharp recollection, nothing is truly impossible. As they go over what happened in one particular shop, a memory clicks into place. Without hesitation, Saito reaches into a drainage grate, and when he pulls his hand back out, he's already holding Akane's missing purse. What took her days to search for it, he finds in just a minute. Grinning, he tries to brag about his genius, but before he can, Akane silences him with a hug. So he puts the ring on her finger, and she promises not to lose it ever again. Saito is reading a book on a bench when a pink-haired woman named Maho introduces herself. He tries to remember who that person is, but he just does not know who she is. The woman seems disappointed that he has no idea about who she is, but she is very fond of him, asking him to be his boyfriend so easily. Saito is surprised by this. A stranger asking him to be her boyfriend is surprising enough. However, Maho knows everything about him, including the part that he turned down Himari and lives together with Akane. Saito interrogates her to tell him how she got the information, but she refuses to say so. Instead, she used this as a way of blackmailing Saito into going out with her. She knows everything about him and Akane, so if Saito does not do as she pleases, she will tell everyone what's going on between them. Maho moves so aggressively with Saito, even attempting to kiss him right on the lips. Good thing Shisei arrives just in time to save him from it, but instead of being frightened, Maho gets flustered by Shisei's cuteness and even tries to take her home. However, as soon as the school bell rings, Maho dashes out of the school gates, leaving Shisei and Saito alone. Shisei smells danger, so she warns Saito about Maho. The next day, Saito thinks he will finally have a silent and peaceful day for himself. But just as he is about to celebrate, Maho arrives at his classroom looking for him. The boys in Saito's class start buzzing about the new girl, wondering who she is since none of them recognize her. With Maho knowing so much about his life, Saito has no choice but to follow Maho outside the classroom. They stand near the stairs as Maho chatters endlessly about various things, but Saito remains focused on uncovering her true intentions. He presses her, asking why she likes him. Maho simply claims it was love at first sight, but Saito doesn't believe her for a second. Frustrated, he turns to leave, making his way down the stairs, but before he can get far, Maho suddenly slides down the handrail from the top. Panic surges through Saito as he fears she'll fall, instinctively rushing to catch her. Once he does, he scolds her for being so reckless. But Maho just grins and insists that life is too short to play it safe. She declares that people should do what makes them happy, like confessing their feelings. However, Saito remains unmoved, bluntly telling her that he doesn't like anyone at all. She suddenly asks if he likes Akane. Saito doesn't give a clear answer, neither confirming nor denying. She grins, declaring that this means there's still a chance he'll fall for her instead. Maho tells Saito to show her around the shopping district and find something sweet. She even offers to treat him. They ended up in a fast food place, and Maho ordered a bunch of burgers, which she finished in one bite. Maho opens up about how she likes junk foods compared to healthy sweets. However, her family scolds her often for eating them. Saito opens up about the same sentiments, saying someone scolds him every time he has junk food too. The two of them share things about their lives. He finds out Maho has an older sister, while Saito also shares about his little sister. When Saito proceeds to eat, his hand catches a drop of ketchup, and before he can wipe it off, Maho suddenly leans in and licks it. While doing it, she also takes a photo of them. This makes Saito panic and feel angry, but Maho just says it's for them to look back at their memories together. However, Saito is still not convinced about it and chases her to delete the photo. Maho gets tired of running, so she sits in one corner trying to catch her breath. Saito catches up to her. He demands she delete the photo, and after some teasing, she finally does. With that settled, he leads them back toward the shopping district. Looking at the view in front of them, Maho also mentions how Saito and Akane fight all the time. They are arch nemesis, so it must be hard to live together under one roof. Although they might not seem compatible, breaking up will never be an option for both of them since they have a complicated situation. At the end of the day, Saito wants to go home already, but Maho does not want to go home yet. She wants to come to Saito's place for some sexy time. Saito strongly refuses her, but she once again uses her blackmailing tactics, saying she will tell everyone he used her for a date, and that Akane and him live together if he does not grant her request. So Saito is once again left with no choice but to approve of whatever Maho wants them to do. Entering the house, Akane is about to scold Saito, but is caught off guard seeing who he's with. Just when Saito is about to explain everything to Akane, she cuts him off, angrily asking what he's doing with her little sister. Saito's eyes widen and he does not know Maho is Akane's sister. With this, Maho just smiles and holds out a peace sign to her older sister. Upon entering the house, Maho instantly gives her sister a big hug. She's very eager to embrace her because she misses her so much, so Akane just responds by saying she misses her a lot too, and the sisters share a sweet moment hugging each other. Maho loves teasing her sister as well. She makes fun of her now and then. Saito is confused, looking back at the conversation he and Akane shared in the past. He thought her sister passed away. However, Akane never said something like that. Her words, "she went somewhere very far away," may have confused him and he mistook it for dying. In reality, Maho was just out traveling the world with her grandma's money, so she and Akane do not see each other that often anymore. Maho says she wants to examine how their married life is going. Akane thinks maybe her grandmother put her into this, but Maho denies it and says it is her own decision to know how they are. First, Maho goes to their bedroom, where she finds a shared bed with 2 pillows. She's startled by this. They have been sleeping together every night, so Maho thinks they may have done it already, although the two strongly deny it. Maho does not stop interrogating her sister, asking about the things they might have done together, such as kissing or holding hands. The two are enemies, so there's no way they may have done this, but Maho still can't believe it since they basically live and sleep together. Because of her suspicions, Maho is more determined to keep a close eye on the two to prevent any funny business. Maho decides to stay for the night and sleep in the house. Although Saito does not completely agree to let her stay, Maho is very much welcomed by her sister and even tells her to stay for as much as she wants. As a celebration, Akane prepares porridge for dinner. While Maho loves her sister's cooking, porridge is the one exception. As a child, she had to eat it every time she was sick, and now she can't stand it. Trying to find eggs to add to the porridge, Akane suddenly discovers Shisei hiding in the fridge. Shisei is curled up inside, already freezing. Alarmed, they quickly pull her out, fearing she might be unconscious. However, just as worry sets in, Shisei weakly speaks up, telling Saito to give her mouth to mouth. At that moment, Saito lets out a sigh, immediately realizing that she's perfectly fine. When Maho catches sight of Shisei, she cannot resist and wants to embrace her, but Shisei is indifferent towards Maho. Noticing how Maho calls Saito his older brother, Shisei instantly becomes jealous for her. Only she can be Saito's little sister. Maho tells her Akane is her sister and she's married to Saito, so that makes her his sister too. However, Shisei refuses her defeat and challenges Maho to a duel that will identify who is truly worthy to be Saito's little sister. The duel begins with Maho trying to charm her way to Saito's heart, but this does not work for Saito, so he scores her a 0. Meanwhile, Shisei, with her cuteness and irresistible nature, instantly shows off her skills that capture Saito, so he gives her a perfect score. Maho admits that Shisei's cuteness is something she can't beat, even if she would want Shisei to be her little sister. So Akane comforts her. For her, Maho is the best sister anyone could ever have. Later that night, Maho and Akane finally have some alone time for themselves. Akane asks her sister why she didn't tell her she was back from Japan earlier, but Maho wants to surprise her, and it works well. However, Maho suddenly proposes an idea to her sister. She wants to be the one to marry Saito instead. She argues that the only reason their grandmother and Saito's grandfather are pushing for the marriage is because they want to relive their own failed romance from childhood. If that's the case, then there's no reason why Maho shouldn't be the one to marry him instead of Akane. She confidently declares that she'll make their grandmother agree to the change, ensuring that Akane still receives the funds she needs for her education. Akane is not so sure about this idea. He tells Maho how arrogant and egocentric Saito can be. Maho remains persistent, assuring Akane that everything will be fine. In an attempt to make her reconsider, Akane lists all the little things Saito does that annoy her. However, to her disbelief, Maho seems to love every single one of them. Akane realizes how eager she is to marry Saito, asking if she does not want to marry someone she truly loves in the future. To her surprise, Maho casually admits that Saito's appearance is her type and that they've already gotten close. As proof, she pulls out her phone and reveals the photo she secretly kept from earlier. Looks like she has not deleted it after all. Even though the two of them just met, Maho tells her how compatible they are with each other, so they will probably get along as a married couple. Akane hesitantly agrees with everything Maho just said. With a victorious grin, she declares it's settled. Saito is enjoying himself in the bathtub. He's trying to relax in a tub full of bubbles and smoke. The door suddenly bursts open, and to his horror, Maho strides in, completely naked and ready to join him. Caught off guard, Saito immediately turns away, refusing to look at her and demanding that she leave. However, Maho completely ignores his reaction and instead steps into the shower, casually going about her business as if nothing is wrong. She once again blackmails Saito by saying she'll tell Akane he attacked her if he tries to run off. With no other choice, Saito reluctantly agrees to stay and play along with Maho in the bathtub, but then Maho suddenly drops a question that catches him completely off guard. She asks him to marry her. She begins recounting everything she told Akane earlier, trying to persuade Saito that it makes perfect sense for them to be together instead. She insists that she's fully committed and without hesitation, even offers herself to him, claiming he can do as he pleases. As she continues to convince him, Maho gradually leans in closer, her bare skin pressing against Saito's back, making the already tense situation even more unbearable for him. Desperate to defuse the moment, Saito tells her he'll think about it. That evening, Akane notices how exhausted Saito looks. When she asked about it, he said Maho had been throwing him into a loop. Akane smiles, saying she's glad to hear that Maho is so energetic and free-spirited. Ever since she was a child, Maho had been frequently sick, so seeing her so lively and healthy now brings Akane relief. As Saito finally settles into bed, Akane suddenly wakes him up with an unexpected question. She asks if he wants to break up. The question jolts Saito awake, causing him to sit up, staring at her in surprise. Instead of answering directly, he throws the question back at her, wondering if she would agree to break up if that's what he wanted. Akane falls silent, unable to give him a clear response. She doesn't know what she wants, and truthfully, neither does Saito. Akane, Saito, Himari, Maho, and Shisei spend the day at an amusement park to celebrate Maho's homecoming. Maho is bursting with excitement, especially about experiencing the park with Saito, which doesn't go unnoticed by Himari. Curious about their dynamic, Himari questions what's going on between them. Without hesitation, Maho boldly declares that Himari can consider her a rival since she fully intends to have Saito for herself. This sparks an immediate argument between the two, with fighting over Saito's attention while he stands awkwardly in the middle of their feud. In the end, it seems like it is Shisei who wins the match as she rides Saito's shoulders while strolling at the park. The five of them are having a fantastic time at the amusement park, exploring attractions and trying out different thrilling rides. The only exception is Akane, who tries to maintain a calm and composed facade, but is terrified, especially of rides that involve great heights. While riding the Ferris wheel with Saito, she finally admits that she has never liked amusement parks because they scare her to death. Despite that, she still chose to come for Maho. Unlike her, Maho thrives on excitement, loving the thrill of amusement parks. Seeing her younger sister enjoy these experiences makes Akane genuinely happy, especially since Maho had spent much of her life in hospitals, too sick to do such things. Noticing Akane's unease, Saito offers to hold her hand to help calm her nerves. However, Akane takes it the wrong way and immediately refuses. Undeterred, Saito simply takes her hand anyway, holding onto it as they continue their Ferris wheel ride. In the horror booth, Akane comes out crying, too scared of the fake monsters inside. On the other hand, her younger sister Maho seems to enjoy it, showing no hint of fear and even asking to take a photo with the monsters. However, in the middle of their walk inside the booth, Maho suddenly sits on the ground, clutching her chest and saying she doesn't feel well. She must have had too much fun that her body can no longer fathom. Because of this, Saito carries her on his back out of the horror booth and makes her lie down on one of the benches while she continues to catch her breath. Concerned, Saito attempts to get Akane for her medications, but upon hearing this, Maho instantly stands up and grabs Saito by his neck, admitting that she was only pretending to be sick so that he'll carry her out. This only makes Saito mad, not only because Maho is lying, but also because she made him worried. He is concerned that when an emergency happens, no one will believe her anymore and assumes she is just pretending. His reaction shocks Maho and he continues scolding her, so she does everything she can to prove that she's fine. Back at the house, Saito is completely drained from the long day at the amusement park. All he wants is to finally rest, but as soon as he lies down, Maho suddenly jumps out from under the covers, wearing nothing but a revealing lingerie set. Before he can react, a distant memory resurfaces in his mind. Curious, he asks her about this. He tells her she has beautiful long hair like Maho's, and they talk to each other for a long time. Maho takes a moment to think, then leans in close, whispering in his ear that it was in fact her. She confesses that she had feared he had completely forgotten about her after all these years. The moment between them grows tense as Maho, now emboldened, begins unbuttoning Saito's shirt, slowly exposing his chest. Saito tries to push her away, but she insists that it's fine. After all, they're going to get married anyway. Then Saito says something that makes Maho freeze. He tells her that no matter how much she pretends, he knows deep down that she hates him. Maho's sweet and playful demeanor instantly shatters. With a smirk, she finally admits it. She does hate him. But to her, that doesn't matter. What she wants right now is a kiss. She taunts him, saying he should feel lucky since it's going to be her first. Despite her insistence, Saito resists. To him, there's no point in kissing someone you hate. Before anything more can happen, the door suddenly swings open. Akane stands in the doorway, frozen at the sight before her. Saito tries to tell him to calm down, but Maho does not seem to care about her sister's feelings and even teases her, implying something happened between her and Saito. Finally, Akane screams in distress. With tears in her eyes, she breaks down, saying she hates both of them. Thrown out of the house by Akane after the dramatic confrontation, Saito and Maho are left wandering through the rainy streets, searching for shelter. Saito assumes that Maho has somewhere to go, considering she still has her grandmother, while he plans to book a hotel for the night. However, Maho refuses to part ways with him. No matter how much Saito tries to shake her off, she persistently follows him, even into the hotel and inside his room. Her stubbornness frustrates Saito to no end, and when he finally snaps and tries to hold her down, she unexpectedly starts crying. At first, Saito assumes she's just putting on an act again, but this time the tears are real. She is genuinely hurt. Akane's words cut deep. Never before had her sister told her that she hated her. The weight of those words shatters her, leaving her feeling truly abandoned. Seeing her like this, Saito finds himself moved despite everything. But before he can process his emotions, Maho suddenly removes her sweater, revealing a sheer lingerie that barely covers her body. She tells him that since she's the reason they got kicked out, she wants to make it up to him by offering her body. Saito immediately refuses, firmly stating that he would never take advantage of a kid. Maho, of course, adamantly denies being a child. Left with no other choice, Saito reluctantly allows her to stay the night, under the condition that she must stay in bed and behave. To ensure she doesn't try anything, he even agrees to tuck her in. When morning arrives, Saito is startled awake by Maho's labored breathing. She hadn't taken her usual medication the night before. With everything that had happened, she never had the chance to grab them before they were kicked out, and thinking she could go one night without them, she hadn't bothered to say anything. Saito prepares to call an ambulance, but Maho weakly stops him. She pleads with him not to make the call, afraid that if an ambulance gets involved, they will contact her family, turning this into a big deal. More than anything, she fears that Akane will find out. Despite her condition, she insists that she'll be fine. Her doctor had assured her before that she could live a normal life, and she clings to that belief even now. Still, Saito carried Maho out of the hotel, and while waiting for a taxi, they conversed. Saito mentions how he used to carry Akane like that too. Even though they were archenemies before, Saito is not sure what they are now. Saito successfully gets Maho to the hospital. As she stabilizes, he tells her that her parents will be arriving soon. Not wanting to face them, he prepares to leave before they get there. Before he can step away, Maho stops him and she makes him promise not to tell Akane about this. Ever since they were kids, Akane had always sacrificed her time and energy to take care of her, never once complaining but also never truly living for herself. Because of Maho's condition, Akane never had the chance to make real friends or enjoy a normal life. Maho doesn't want her sister to keep giving up everything for her. She doesn't want to be the reason Akane keeps sacrificing herself. Her words strike something in Saito. He sees the weight of guilt she's been carrying, and despite his initial hesitation, he agrees. With nowhere else to go, Saito calls Shisei and asks if he can stay at her place. Shisei, always perceptive, quickly figures out that he and Akane must have had a fight. Without pressing for details, she agrees and picks him up. The next day at school, Akane confronts Saito aggressively, demanding to know where Maho is. She hasn't been able to contact her, and her family's vague excuse that she's traveling seems suspicious. Something doesn't add up. Saito tries to deflect, telling her to trust what her parents said, but Akane isn't convinced. Maho wouldn't just leave without seeing her first. Wanting to avoid any more difficult questions, Saito makes an excuse to head inside the classroom. Just as he turns his back, Akane reaches out, trying to stop him. Her voice softens as she asks when he's coming home, but the words come out too quietly. Saito doesn't hear her. After school, Saito sneaks into Maho's hospital room with junk food. Akane never lets her have any. Maho admits she travels so much because she's afraid of the day she won't be able to anymore. More than that, being away keeps Akane from worrying. She won't see her getting sick or feel burdened by it. With this, Saito says Maho baited her for her sister. At first, he thought she hated him for stealing Akane, but in reality, she just wanted her to be happy. Maho confirms this. When she heard about Akane's arranged marriage, she wanted to take her place so Akane could live freely. But after what happened between them, she fears Akane hates her now. Saito reassures her Akane loves her very much and tells her to rest and see her right away when she's better. Maho obeys Saito and proceeds to lie down. Saito holds her hand like he does for Shisei when she needs comfort. When asked why he takes such good care of Maho, his answer is simple. He wants Akane to be happy too. On the way out, Saito catches Akane outside the door. She heard everything he said, and this made her more confused. 1 week later, Maho is out of the hospital and asks Akane for forgiveness, explaining her true intentions and how much she values her sister. She also assures Akane that no matter how hard she tries to tempt Saito, he never lays a hand on her, always staying respectful. Maho vouches for Saito, convincing Akane to forgive him despite her initial hesitation. Akane tells Maho to stop trying to take her place, but Maho notices that Akane seems to have fallen for Saito. She teases her about it, joking about taking him for herself, making Akane mad at Saito for seducing her sister. When Akane walks away, Maho tells Saito she figured out who the girl at the party was, but she refuses to tell Saito since he doesn't want to kiss her. In class, Saito asks for Akane's forgiveness, hoping to clear the tension between them. She acts grumpy, avoiding direct eye contact and even throwing several questions, but still, she proceeds to ask him about what he said in the hospital. When Saito admits it's true, Akane is secretly happy yet pretends not to care. She asks him to come home with her, using her grandmother as an excuse. Unbeknownst to them, Himari is in the back, overhearing everything, confirming her suspicions about them living together. Himari and Saito sit on a bench. The evening sun stretches its golden rays around. Himari asks Saito why he's still not heading home. Saito admits he avoids home whenever his parents are around. Himari understands, she feels the same, so she shifts closer, offering comfort. When Himari overhears Saito and Akane's conversation, she immediately realizes her suspicion is right. Without thinking, she says it aloud, catching the attention of the entire class. The room quickly fills with murmurs and whispers. However, Saito and Akane instantly deny it. After all, they're supposed to be archenemies. How could they possibly live together? Before the situation spirals further, they rush outside, away from prying ears. Once alone, they turn on each other, each blaming the other for exposing their secret, sparking yet another heated argument. As Saito heads home with Shisei, he quickly finds himself surrounded by classmates holding up their phones, eager to capture proof of the rumor they overheard. Shisei tries to reassure him, but the overwhelming attention is unavoidable. Even beyond the school gates, Saito notices they are being followed. Shisei, experienced in having pursuers, confirms his suspicion. 3 students are tailing them. Realizing the spies won't stop until they have proof that he lives with Akane, they need a plan. Shisei offers her place as a temporary hideout, but Saito declines. He has to get home before his grandfather notices anything unusual. With no other option, they decide to lose their pursuers. Spotting a bus, they sprint towards it and hop on just in time, leaving their stunned followers behind, unable to react fast enough. To ensure they completely lose their pursuers, Saito and Shisei stay on the bus until the last stop. However, they soon find themselves stranded in an unfamiliar area with no cell service. The next bus won't arrive until morning, and Shisei can't contact her driver to pick them up. Their only option is to walk home. Just as they are about to lose hope, a sleek car speeds toward them and comes to an abrupt stop. It's Shisei's service car arriving to pick her up. Though she hasn't contacted them, her team has tracked her location through her device. However, the relief is short-lived. Shisei is taken home while Saito is left standing alone in the middle of an unfamiliar road. At home, Akane realizes they're almost out of rice. With rumors spreading about them, they can't risk being seen outside. Some classmates might still be spying and could follow them home again. Meanwhile, Shisei, who is also there, casually eats what little rice they have left and suggests they just eat cake instead. In the middle of their conversation, a noise comes from across the room. Panic sets in and Saito quickly pushes Akane forward to check. Sure enough, someone is hiding under the mattress. When Saito nudges Akane to reveal the intruder, they both lose their balance and fall, only for the stranger to expose herself. It's Maho grinning as she teases them for having a sexy time in the middle of the day. She confidently claims she doesn't need to knock since it's her house too. Besides, Himari is there as well. Akane and Saito are surprised to see Himari, but still invite her in for tea. Sitting together, Himari apologizes, admitting it was her fault their classmates found out they were living together. In turn, both Akane and Saito apologize for keeping it a secret from her for so long. To their surprise, Himari doesn't seem upset at all. She calmly explains that she had already suspected it for a while. Their matching lunches, identical shampoo scents, and Saito's familiarity with Akane's house had all been clues. Plus, with both their families involved in the Houjou group, it wasn't hard to assume they were married for business. However, Saito corrects her, revealing that their marriage isn't for business but rather a way to fulfill their grandparents' unfulfilled love from their youth. Understanding the situation, Himari realizes their marriage is devoid of real feelings. A small smile crosses her face. If that's the case, she still has a chance with Saito. Without hesitation, Himari gathers everyone for a meeting to strategize on how to put an end to the rumors about Akane and Saito. Shisei proposes a more aggressive approach. However, Himari takes a different route, proposing that they counter the rumors by showing everyone the exact opposite of what they believe to be true. Himari's plan involves Saito and Shisei pretending to be a couple at school to divert suspicion away from his marriage to Akane. However, the strategy falls flat as their natural closeness makes them look more like siblings than lovers. Shisei, aware of this from the beginning, insists they need to be more convincing. She boldly suggests a kiss on the lips to solidify their act, but Saito immediately shuts down the idea. To him, that crosses the line. Shisei should save her first kiss for someone truly special. The 5 of them gather once again in an isolated part of the campus to discuss their plan. Maho eagerly volunteers to pretend to be Saito's girlfriend, but he immediately rejects the idea, wary of the unpredictable antics she might pull on him. With both Shisei and Maho ruled out, the only option left is Himari. Saito offers her the chance to come up with another plan if she feels uncomfortable, but to his surprise, she prefers this one. Just the thought of pretending to be Saito's girlfriend has her over the moon, already daydreaming excitedly about their act for the next day. At home, Akane's dark eyes lock onto Saito's, her gaze sharp and unreadable. He has no idea what he did wrong. He's already finished all the household chores just as she instructed. But that's not why Akane is so angry. She's upset about Saito pretending to be with Himari and pointedly reminds him that it's just an act, nothing more. Her warning leaves Saito confused. He doesn't understand why boundaries need to be set between him and Himari or why it even matters. Akane, on the other hand, feigns indifference, but the tension in her expression makes it obvious. She's absolutely fuming. At school, Himari greets Saito and her playful act begins. She clings to him constantly, staying close at all times. Their classmates are already suspicious, but Himari just plays along. Even during lunchtime, she sits with Saito, leaving Akane alone at her table. Before class starts, the two slip away to a quiet, empty classroom. It almost feels like they're sneaking around, though they're not quite sure what to do next. Himari admits she doesn't know either, but she keeps pretending. Saito laughs, saying he's never seen this uncertain side of her before. She's always so sure of everything. Despite the act, Himari feels uneasy around Saito. It's no secret that she likes him, but Saito reassures her to do whatever she wants. He's fine with anything. Hesitantly, she confesses her jealousy over how often Saito cuddles Shisei and admits she wants to be held too. Saito agrees, but Himari hesitates, worrying she's too big compared to the small and light Shisei. She fears she might crush him, but Saito assures her she won't. Finally, they settle into a corner with Himari sitting on Saito's lap, just like he does with Shisei. Suddenly, Himari notices a crowd watching them from outside the classroom. She whispers for Saito to hug her tighter, playing into the act. True enough, murmurs and gasps can be heard as their classmates react to the scene. Himari tells herself she's only doing this for the plan, but she's secretly enjoying it. Meanwhile, with so many eyes still on them, Saito finds himself unable to let go either. When Himari steps out of the classroom, she's immediately surrounded by a group of classmates demanding answers about her and Saito. She and Saito try to play along, acting shy and cautious about their supposed relationship. Eventually, they admit to dating, though in reality, it's all part of the act. Their classmates erupt with questions, including ones about the rumors involving Akane. Seeing an opportunity, Himari takes the chance to clear things up. She explains that her jealousy made her jump to conclusions, leading to the misunderstanding. She sincerely apologizes for the trouble she caused, and in response, their classmates also apologize for spreading rumors. As Himari and Saito soak in the attention, Akane sits silently in a corner, uneasy and withdrawn. For the rest of the day, Himari is noticeably clingy with Saito, her affectionate gestures growing bolder. It doesn't go unnoticed, especially by Akane, who finds it increasingly uncomfortable. Unable to stay silent, she confronts Himari, telling her there's no need to take things so far. Their act is starting to look like blatant PDA. Instead of being offended, Himari is thrilled. If even Akane sees them that way, then their plan must be working perfectly. She even teases that they might have to take things further to completely erase the rumors. Akane attempts to protest, but before she can get a word in, Himari turns on her heel and walks away, leaving Akane frustrated and unheard. Himari and Saito go out on their first date, even if it's just for show. Saito apologizes, feeling guilty that Himari's first date isn't real, but she brushes it off, simply happy to spend time with him. They spend the day visiting a bookstore, playing games at the arcade, and even going out for sweets. They both had fun at the end of the day. When Saito walks Himari home, she apologizes for dragging him into their problems. Before he can leave, she calls out, asking him to stop by for a bit. Unsure, Saito declines, but to her surprise, he returns shortly after, saying he can stay, but not for long. Inside, Saito is taken aback by how quiet her house is. As he looks around, he notices framed photos, including ones of himself. Himari sheepishly admits she bought a copy of his picture from their school trip. Saito doesn't seem too bothered, but firmly tells her not to add more. It's a bit unsettling. As Saito scans the room, he notices the shelves lined with books, realizing Himari might be smarter than she lets on. Just then, the door swings open, revealing Himari in a tight spaghetti strap top carrying a tray of tea. They chat briefly about the tea before shifting to their group chat, where their classmates are still buzzing about their relationship. Saito is impressed that Himari's plan works so well. Himari brushes it off as luck, but Saito, eyeing her collection of books, disagrees. He points out her interest in psychology, which leads Himari to open up. She was bullied in the past, and Akane was the one who put a stop to it. But she realized she couldn't rely on Akane forever, so she studied psychology to protect both herself and her friend. Though she downplays it as lame, Saito admires her determination and her desire to protect those she cares about. As their conversation deepens, Himari suddenly asks if Saito has romantic feelings for Akane. He immediately denies it. Seizing the moment, Himari leans forward. She boldly tells Saito she wants to be with him, even if it means being the other girl. Saito looks away, telling her she deserves better. But Himari insists she's not trying to be cheap. She simply wants to be with him, no matter the circumstances. She walks over to the window, catching Saito's gaze. She confesses that her parents avoid coming home whenever she's there. Saito relates, sharing how his own parents have never been present for school events like Field Day or Parents' Day. Despite the weight of their conversation, Himari smiles, grateful to have shared something meaningful with him. As Saito moves to leave, Himari grabs his hand, gently but firmly, urging him to stay just a little longer. Saito arrives home late in the evening, only to find Akane standing there, arms crossed, waiting for him. Her gaze is sharp as she immediately asks if he is at Himari's place. He doesn't deny it. Akane's expression stiffens. He mentions Himari's parents weren't home and the thought shakes her. Later that night, Himari calls Akane, casually mentioning Saito and how she asked him to wash up there. Akane cuts her off, reminding her she can quit now that the rumors have settled. Himari refuses, claiming she enjoys the act and even suggesting they should push it a little bit longer. She even jokes about making it last forever, oblivious to Akane's rising tension. When Himari asks if she's jealous, Akane denies it without hesitation. With this, Himari finds no problem with keeping the act and calls it a win-win situation. Akane agrees, but her clenched fists on the other end of the call reveal her frustration. At their house, Saito and Akane are busy doing their own thing when Saito breaks the silence by asking for Akane's number. Akane panics a bit at this, even though they are a married couple, they haven't exchanged numbers. But now, given the situation, they need it for practical reasons. So Akane gives in and lets him scan her QR code. Now he can text her whenever necessary. This is the first time Akane has ever had a guy in her contacts, but to make sure no one would suspect anything at school, she decides to give him a fake name on her phone. She presents awful code names such as stupid and idiot, but Saito complains, wanting a cool name. When Akane exaggerates and gives him an over-the-top heroic name, he feels ashamed of himself. Just a few seconds after sharing numbers, Saito receives a text message from Akane, greeting him with a good evening. He turns to her and sees that she is texting like a mad woman, eyes sparkling. He replies, and they continue their text messaging, pretending they don't know each other and even introducing themselves. Their conversation goes on and on as if they don't live together in the same house. Akane even runs to their room and calls in with a weird voice to play along with their little charade. The next morning in class, Saito and Shisei are eating together on a bench when Maho races towards them, prompting them to dodge her ambush. Saito has grown accustomed to Maho always ambushing him, so he's gotten good at avoiding her. At that moment, Saito seizes the opportunity to ask Maho about the mysterious girl from the party. Maho tries to play dumb and fool around, avoiding giving any answer to his question, but Saito grabs her hand and showing that he's really serious about knowing. He even offers to pay her just to spill the girl's identity. Intrigued by his desperation, Maho demands a favor in exchange for the information. Shisei asks Saito what he intends to do after finding out about the girl, but Saito doesn't have plans to find her, nor any plans to bother her or Maho ever again. He just can't live without knowing who the girl is. Saito recalls the party from years ago, a gathering his grandpa had organized. It made sense if Maho was that girl since she's the granddaughter of his grandpa's friend. However, he also wonders if it could be Akane. The girl he remembers from that night was kind, polite, and had an angelic smile. Nothing like the Akane he knows. Maho realizes Saito's sincerity, so she wants to know if he would do anything to provide the information. True enough, Saito says he's willing to go as far as hugging Maho tightly. But before things escalate, Shisei interrupts and asks Maho out on a date. Maho, charmed by Shisei's cuteness, doesn't hesitate at all. Although Shisei admits she just really wants to have a private little talk with Maho, she still proceeds to drag Shisei away, even saying it does not matter if they need to skip school. Left alone on the bench, Saito receives a text from Akane scolding him for leaving the living room curtains open. He apologizes, but seconds later, she texts again to complain about a piece of string left in the hallway. The messages keep coming, each scolding him about things he did wrong before leaving the house. Saito smiles, realizing that the girl from the party could never be Akane. When he arrives home, Saito receives a call from his grandpa. Ignoring it at first, he sets his phone down, only for his grandpa's angry face to suddenly appear on their flat-screen TV, scolding him for not picking up. Startled, Saito accuses his grandpa of spying on them through a hidden camera, but his grandpa laughs, explaining it's just a video call. Saito asks why he called, and his grandpa says he's just checking in, but Saito does not believe him, so he proceeds to mention an upcoming 70th birthday party for his cousin, which Saito recognizes as the one who kept the family in check all these years. His grandpa confirms this, and he insists that Saito attend the event since he will have to get along with her if he wants to take over the family business. Saito reluctantly agrees and promises to bring a present before the call ends. After the call ends, Akane steps out of the room, accusing Saito of talking to himself again. Saito denies it and tells her about the upcoming birthday party, inviting her to come along. Akane is startled by this, but as Saito points out, since they are married, his family needs to know her as well. Though hesitant, Akane starts to consider it. Saito assures her it won't be too formal, just older people enjoying drinks and chatting. He even adds that the food will be ridiculously fancy, hoping that will persuade her. Akane, still unconvinced, says she needs time to prepare herself. To ease her mind, Saito mentions that Shisei will be there as well. However, upon learning that Shisei's mother will be present too, Akane's mood sinks even further. Saito decides not to push her anymore, saying he will stay overnight at the event. Akane insists she doesn't mind being left alone, though Saito knows she might be secretly terrified if the power goes out. Despite this, Akane claims she will enjoy her time alone and may even invite Himari to stay over. The day of the party arrives and Shisei and her mother fetch Saito. Akane bids her goodbye outside, although Saito is hesitant to leave her alone in the house. Saito was shocked to see Shisei's driver driving so slowly when Aunt Josie, Shisei's mother, is present. When he looks back, he sees Akane still peeking, watching the car as it speeds away. Arriving at the venue, numerous housekeepers greet them with utmost respect. They even welcome Saito as if it is his home. Technically, the house owner treats him like her own, even once considering adopting his father. The maids scream when they see Shisei lying on the floor, skying with her body across the smooth, well-maintained floors. Gathering with his grandma Shizu and grandpa Tenryu in a corner, they ask Saito to sit with them, but he refuses, saying he doesn't want to sit with drunks. Eventually, they're all drunk anyway, so he gives up and joins them. It's now time to present the gifts for the celebrant, his grandma Shizu. Saito presents his gift together with Shisei, wishing her a lot more years to come. She wholeheartedly accepts the present, and Tenryu proceeds to ask about Saito's wife. Saito explains that Akane couldn't join them tonight because she had to meet some relatives of her own. Shizu is touched, calling her a sweetheart, but Tenryu has other concerns. He asks how things are going and if they will be expecting grandchildren soon. Saito answers that there won't be any. Although he agreed to marry Akane, they don't plan on having kids. Tenryu tells him it's a waste of time. They are newlyweds, so they should be enjoying each other's company, like taking a bath together. Saito seems uncomfortable, so Shizu scolds Tenryu, telling him to stop because young people don't like that kind of subject. Saito is amazed by this. His grandpa is a well-respected man, and Shizu is the only one who ever talks to him with that kind of tone. This pushes Saito to ask if Shizu can convince Tenryu to stop forcing people to get married too. Although Shizu tells him she once thought it was ridiculous, she ultimately chooses to support Tenryu's ideas for life, so there's no arguing. Chiyo, Akane's grandmother, also seemed to have done a good job. After all, they are known as people who can influence even politicians. Shizu still thinks marrying Saito to her granddaughter was a good choice. Saito just sighs at this, but Shizu adds one more thing. She had always thought he would marry Shisei eventually. Saito is about to object, but he is cut short after seeing Shisei's flaming red face. She says she ate too many cayenne peppers she had hidden earlier, but Saito still notices her blushing. Embarrassed, Shisei bluntly denies it and leaves. When Saito and Shisei return to their seats, they talk about what happened earlier. Shisei's face is still red, so Saito tells her not to sweat it. Shisei asks if it bothers him at all, but before he can answer, Shisei punches him straight in the face and demands he pats her on the head. Saito obediently follows as she requests. At their house, Akane is all alone when the doorbell rings. Himari enters, hugging her tightly and thanking her for inviting her over. Himari thought Akane hated her after what she did with Saito, but Akane insists she never did. Akane tells her she appreciates what Himari did for them and doesn't even care what Saito does at all. Himari is relieved to hear this and assures Akane that they will still be best friends no matter what. Akane agrees but pauses, wondering what Himari really meant by even whatever happens. The next second, they are already dressed in baking clothes, preparing to bake cupcakes. Akane had fresh strawberries on hand, while Himari brought some Darjeeling tea. The two of them proceed to bake cheerfully, chatting and laughing as they mix ingredients. Once the cupcakes are in the oven, they sit down to enjoy their tea, comfortably immersed in each other's company. Their conversation is light and carefree until the cupcakes are ready. Himari takes a photo of the cupcakes and casually mentions she'll send it to Saito. This surprises Akane, making her wonder how Himari got Saito's number. Himari explains she exchanged numbers with him a while ago. This revelation unsettles Akane, and she briefly suspects Saito might be cheating on her. Sensing Akane's unease, Himari offers to delete Saito's number, but Akane refuses. She insists she's only worried that Saito might be bombarding Himari with messages. To Akane's surprise, Himari laughs and says it's the opposite. She's the one who won't stop messaging him. Shikon confesses to sending him a picture after her bath last night. Akane grows concerned, wondering if Saito is pressuring her friend, but Himari assures her it's her own doing. She's been trying to get Saito's attention since her earlier confession went nowhere, so she's taking a different approach. This revelation makes Akane angry at Saito for ignoring her best friend's feelings, but Himari remains cheerful, just grateful he hasn't blocked her yet. Suddenly, a faint sound comes from Himari's phone. Saito has replied. They exchange a few messages, which leaves Akane feeling disheartened. Noticing Akane's sudden shift in mood, Himari apologizes and offers to help, but Akane insists she's fine, claiming she's no expert at texting anyway. Akane checks her phone with a weary face. Himari asks if Akane is waiting for Saito to text her. Akane denies it immediately, but Himari sees through her. She asks Akane what the opposite of like is. When Akane answers hate, Himari corrects her, saying it's actually indifference, because you can never really hate someone you don't care about. Akane's knees tremble at her friend's words, unsure of what to say. Noticing the tension, Himari quickly shifts the conversation back to the cupcakes, hoping to lighten the mood. Soon it was time for Himari to go home, so they bid their farewells. When night comes, Akane decides to study for the exam. She wants to get ahead of Saito. but she can't avoid unintentionally checking her phone from time to time, convincing herself she's not lonely. Meanwhile, at the party, everyone is already drunk and the place is filled with the noise of people chatting. Shisei is asleep and Saito sits silently beside her. Suddenly, Saito's grandpa appears from behind, urging him to drink. Since he's a minor, his grandpa hands him a nasty-looking tea that's supposedly healthy, though Saito knows it's just to make him suffer. As the night deepens, Saito carries Shisei to their resting place. Shisei's maid thanks Saito and suggests he stay the night as well, but there wouldn't be enough room for her if he joins them. The maid jokes that he could enjoy the two of them together, every gentleman's dream to have a maid and a princess all at once, but Saito declines, saying he'll rest in the next room. The maid teases him about being a virgin, and though he reacts aggressively, the maid pretends to respond kindly. While browsing the books in the room, Saito receives a phone call from Akane. Although she doesn't need anything specific, she admits she feels a bit out of place without him. This makes Saito smile. It means it's not easy for her when he's not around. Though Akane doesn't fully agree with this, she still tells Saito to come home soon. At home, Akane can't sleep at all. It's been a long time since she last slept alone, and every little sound scares her. Yuma's shadow on her window urges her to grab a pan for self-defense. She realizes she really needs Saito, but when she moves closer to see who it is, she's startled to find Saito himself, frightened as well. He couldn't enter through the front door because Akane had locked it with a chain, so he went through the window. She couldn't hear the intercom because she had her earphones on and hadn't picked up her phone either. Saito didn't want to wake her up. Akane asks why he didn't stay the night at the party. Saito explains he intended to but saw buses passing by, so he decided to catch one and walk the rest of the way home. Akane is shocked to hear this. Saito walked for about 2 hours. He tells her he felt out of place too, not being able to bicker with her at home. His words make the moment awkward, so he proceeds to take a bath. Akane follows him to the changing room, where she notices his clothes are dirty from all the walking. When Saito is finally done, he returns to the room and asks if Akane went into the changing room earlier. Akane denies it, even saying he's accusing her of peeping, but Saito notices she's out of breath. She claims she was dancing, though it's already the middle of the night. Saito just goes straight to bed, while Akane stays up, wanting to talk to him a little before sleeping. However, Saito doesn't answer her, and she realizes he must have been exhausted. She covers him with a blanket, and before turning to sleep, she whispers "welcome home" in his ear. Although Saito is nearly asleep, he still hears her. As he drifts off, he realizes something. Her voice sounds like the one from the party. Saito wakes up to find Akane staring at him with a smug smile. Startled, he demands to know what she's doing, but she simply makes a snide remark about how he looks like a pig in a zoo. As expected, her teasing immediately sparks another petty argument between them. Later, while Saito is washing the dishes, Akane casually asks if he has any plans for the day. She had originally wanted to go out to a movie, but since they can't, she suggests watching one at home instead. To his surprise, she even lets him choose the film and mentions that she baked cookies for them. Her sudden kindness unsettles him. It feels suspicious, almost like she's plotting something. Before he can overthink it, his phone buzzes. It's Himari, asking him to voice chat, but he declines immediately. Akane notices and brings up the fact that she saw them texting the day before. However, it's not like he can actually avoid her texts. Then, almost casually, she mentions the thirst traps Himari had sent him. Though she tries to sound indifferent, Saito catches a hint of irritation in her tone. For a moment, he wonders if there's a chance she's jealous. As he processes the thought, a memory from the previous night flashes through his mind. Akane's voice. He recalls their first meeting in high school and remembers how she greeted him with the words, "Long time no see." That phrase lingers in his mind, raising the question of whether they had met before, but he can't seem to remember. She quickly dismisses the idea, claiming she must have mistaken him for someone else. But Saito's sharp memory tells him otherwise, and he notices the slight nervousness in her expression. The conversation makes her visibly uneasy, and without another word, she abruptly gets up and disappears into their room, abandoning the idea of watching a movie altogether. Behind the closed door, Akane struggles to hold back her emotions. It hurts that Saito remembers their high school enrollment ceremony, but not the moment that truly mattered. Her thoughts drift back to the past, to the Houjou group's party. Seeking solitude, she had escaped to the veranda, where she unexpectedly encountered Saito. It had been surprising to see him there, knowing the event had been arranged for him. There, they seemed to have found an instant connection, talking for hours until the night deepened. When she left with her grandmother, he waved goodbye from outside their house until she was out of sight. During the winter of the entrance exams, she worked tirelessly to qualify for the same university as him. But when she finally approached him after all that time, he didn't recognize her at all. Now sitting at her study table, Akane's tears brim in her eyes. Meanwhile, outside, Saito is left alone, watching the movie and absent-mindedly eating the cookies she had made. Concerned, he knocks on the door, asking what's wrong, but Akane simply says she needs some space. Sensing the unease in her voice, he decides to give her time. Hoping to lighten the mood, he offers to cook dinner and heads out to buy groceries. On the other hand, Himari, sitting alone on a park bench, is lost in thought. Before long, a group of unfamiliar men approaches her, their intentions less than friendly. They invite her to join them for a drive to the beach, but she immediately refuses, stating that she's still in high school. One of them scoffs, commenting on her revealing outfit, and before she can react, the guy grabs her wrists, attempting to pull her along. Just as panic begins to set in, a firm grip lands on the man's shoulder. Saito stands behind him. Without hesitation, he orders them to leave her alone, but when he introduces himself as her boyfriend, the men grow uneasy. With a few sharp words from Saito, they quickly back off and walk away in fear. Once they're alone, Saito turns to Himari with clear concern. He asks her why she's out here by herself and insists that she should go home. It's getting dark and it's dangerous to be alone. However, she refuses, admitting that she doesn't like going home when her stepmother is around. Saito immediately understands. He used to do the same thing, wandering around parks to escape his own family. As they sit together, the tension between them eases. Saito casually mentions that he's out grocery shopping since they are running low on food. Himari is surprised by how responsible he is with household chores. She tells him to go ahead, but seeing the loneliness in her eyes, he decides to stay a little longer. His unexpected kindness nearly brings her to tears. Then, as if struck by a sudden realization, Himari recalls that Saito still owes her a favor for pretending to be his girlfriend. Without warning, she leans in and presses a quick kiss against his lips. The next day at school, Saito is lost in deep thought, barely noticing Shisei and Maho try and get his attention. Shisei, always perceptive, realizes he's been spacing out all day and asks what's wrong. Maho, quicker to jump to conclusions, immediately suspects something happened. Her curiosity sharpens, and when she casually asks if he kissed her sister, Saito instinctively denies it, but a slip of the tongue reveals that it was someone else. That's all Maho needs to start her relentless interrogation. The more she presses, the more nervous Saito becomes, breaking into his sweat as he tries to dodge her questions. Meanwhile, Shisei, taking a different approach, flashes him a knowing smile and leans in, using her charm to coax the truth out of him. Just as it seems like they'll crack him, they're interrupted by Himari. Maho, eager to drag Himari into the chaos, wastes no time explaining that they're trying to get Saito to confess. The moment Shisei brings up a kiss, Himari instantly understands. With a confident smile, she asks for some alone time with Saito. Assuming she'll get him to talk, Shisei and Maho walk away instantly. Now left alone, Himari sits beside Saito, her expression unusually soft. Without hesitation, she apologizes for acting on impulse. She discovers it was his first kiss, but to her, that only made it more special. It was her first too. Saito, however, isn't pleased that he gave it away so easily. Unbothered by his reluctance, Himari playfully asks if she can have another, but he immediately refuses. Instead of being discouraged, she simply rests her head on his shoulder, her voice gentle as she declares her love for him. Meanwhile, word of the kiss spreads through the school like wildfire. The girls are excitedly chatting, some even cheering Himari on. Curious, Akane asks what's going on, and one of the girls eagerly shows her a photo, Himari kissing Saito on the lips. Something inside Akane snaps. Unable to handle it, she bolts out of the classroom. As she rushes down the hallway, she nearly collides with Himari. Himari instantly understands. She throws out a challenge. If Akane can't take the hint, then she'll make sure to steal Saito, for real. But Akane doesn't respond. She simply turns away and runs again. Back at home, Akane sits alone on the couch, lost in memories. She thinks about her friendship with Himari and how they met as children. Himari was often bullied, and Akane always felt responsible in some way. Yet despite everything, Himari had clung to her, expressing admiration and affection without hesitation. They had even made a pact, best friends forever. That night, Saito notices how quiet Akane has been. Hoping to cheer her up, he brings her a cookie with strawberries. The moment she sees it, tears well up in her eyes, catching Saito off guard. She quickly reassures him, saying she's just happy. Taking a bite of the cookie, a decision solidifies in her heart. She goes out of the house and calls Himari, asking to meet. They meet at the park where they used to spend time together as kids, but Akane has come for a reason. Without dancing around the subject, she tells Himari to stop pretending to be Saito's girlfriend. Himari isn't surprised, she already knew this was coming. But the way Akane says it rubs her the wrong way. It sounds as if she's being discarded now that the problem is solved. Akane quickly clarifies that things have gotten out of hand. Going on dates, kissing. It no longer feels like they're pretending. It feels real. Still, Himari refuses to back down so easily. As long as Saito and Akane's marriage is just for show, there's no reason for her to step away. Unless, of course, Akane has a real reason. Akane's knees tremble. Her voice shakes. But she forces herself to admit the truth. She has fallen in love with Saito. But Himari doesn't stop there. To her, Akane's feelings don't compare. Unlike Akane, she has never once hated Saito. She has always liked him, ever since their first year in high school. Akane's admiration is nothing compared to that. Unbeknownst to Himari, however, Akane has been keeping a far deeper secret. Her feelings for Saito didn't start in high school. They began when she was 12, when she met him at the Houjou group's party. From that moment, she had already liked him. She had enrolled in the same school because of him. Himari freezes. This isn't something Akane has ever told her before. Himari feels like fate has been unfair to her. Akane met Saito first all because of her grandmother and even ended up marrying him just because she was told to. Meanwhile, no matter what Himari does, she is still nothing. Akane refuses to accept that narrative. She fires back, calling Himari a people pleaser, someone who always tries to win others over with her empty smiles. The argument escalates quickly, insults flying between them like daggers. Akane accuses Himari of using their pretend relationship as an excuse to seduce Saito, and to her shock, Himari doesn't even deny it. She admits it proudly and even tells Akane her husband is being stolen by her best friend. Through gritted teeth, she calls Himari dumb for choosing Saito of all people. But Himari doesn't back down. She can say the same words back at her. Then, in a quiet moment, Himari finally admits something she has kept to herself for a long time. She has always known Akane likes Saito. Akane freezes. She thought she had been careful, but Himari had noticed. Unlike their other classmates, Akane always treats Saito differently, even when she pretends not to care. Meanwhile, Himari has planned everything from the start. She wanted Saito to fall for her naturally, believing she could heal his heart in ways no one else could. But in the end, she never went through with it. If she had won Saito without Akane realizing it, their friendship would have ended, and that is something she can't bear. Akane feels her breath catch. Everything Himari has done, going on dates with Saito, even kissing him, hasn't just been for herself. It has been for Akane too, to make her confront her own feelings. Himari, of course, brushes it off with a teasing smile, saying she isn't that selfless. She has done it for herself too. But above all, she's ready to take Saito anytime if Akane won't. Akane finally apologizes. It has taken her 2 long years to realize her feelings, and if they hadn't been best friends, none of this would have happened. Maybe the hardest part of their friendship is falling for the same person. But now that the truth is out, neither of them wants to lose each other or Saito, so neither of them is backing down. The next morning, a scream echoes through the house. Saito, startled, rushes in without knocking, only to be met with a furious Akane. Although technically, they share the room, she hates it when he barges in unannounced. Ignoring her protests, Saito reaches out to check her temperature, realizing she's burning up. But Akane, flustered, shoves his hand away, insisting she is only hot because he is touching her. At school, Saito can't shake the feeling that something is wrong. He turns to Maho and Shisei, voicing his concerns about Akane's unusually combative attitude. He worries that he has somehow upset her again. Maho, quick to connect the dots, figures it must be about his kiss with Himari. But before she can dwell on it, Shisei unexpectedly reveals something shocking. Himari hasn't been Saito's first kiss. A wave of confusion crashes over them. Even Himari is taken aback. Demanding an explanation, the 3 of them press Shisei for details, but Shisei, as always, is frustratingly difficult to crack. Still, Himari reassures them that if Akane is upset, it isn't necessarily about the kiss. Rather than worry, Himari has a different plan. She asks Saito to go on another date. Before she can finish her thought, Akane appears out of nowhere, scolding Himari for openly seducing Saito in broad daylight. She grabs Himari's wrist and drags her away for a talk. Watching them go, something finally clicks in Saito's mind. The way the two are acting, it's different. They aren't holding back like they used to. He approaches Akane, determined to get an answer. But she wants nothing to do with him, keeping her distance and throwing empty threats his way. Saito is baffled. He has no idea what he has done to deserve this. But Akane, on the other hand, knows exactly what is going on. Everything that has happened between her and Himari, all of it is because of him. Still, she can't bring herself to say it. She just hates him so much.
Take you